spacefaring civilizations. Today, they would all learn about his groundbreaking research on humanity. Esteemed council members, he began, his translator converting his harmonic tones into standard galactic common. As lead sinoanthropologist of the Scathari science vessel Truth Seeker, I come before you with disturbing findings about the recently discovered human species. The chamber's soft ambient lighting dimmed as he activated the first hologram. Earth's blue sphere rotated slowly, highlighted by data streams that his team had collected over the past standard year. Our observation platforms have documented concerning behavioral patterns. Kivix manipulated the controls, zooming in on various urban centers. Humans exhibit extreme individualistic tendencies. They frequently defy established authority, ignore carefully structured protocols, and act on emotional impulses rather than logical imperatives. Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. The harmonious collective of the Pleiadians shifted their color patterns to shades of concern, while the crystalline Aldebarans refracted light in frequencies indicating distress. Kivix continued, satisfaction humming through his central nervous column. Observe this typical human interaction. The hologram shifted to show a ground transport collision in a place's data identified as Houston. Two humans emerged from their vehicles, gesturing animatedly. What Kivix didn't show was the scene that followed, both drivers helping each other exchange information, and a passing stranger stopping to make sure everyone was all right. Their history provides even more compelling evidence. He displayed carefully selected scenes from human historical archives. Time and again, they demonstrate a concerning focus on individual gain over collective benefit. In the upper observation ring, junior researchers watched with growing unease. She had been part of the observation team, stationed on one of the smaller monitoring platforms. Her own data told a different story. Save strangers, watched them form vast networks to help during natural disasters, and observed them share resources with those in need without expectation of return. Based on our comprehensive analysis, Kivix proclaimed, I must recommend that the Council carefully restrict human integration into galactic society. Their unpredictable nature and resistance to structured authority make them potentially disruptive to our carefully balanced civilization. The Council's chief administrator, a towering Centaurian named Engstel, leaned forward. Your reputation for thorough research precedes you, Dr. Kivix. Do you have evidence of how humans might react to distress situations? The galaxy can be dangerous for emerging civilizations. Indeed, Kivix projected new data streams. Our model suggests that humans would either ignore distress calls from non-human species or attempt to exploit such situations for personal gain. Their entertainment media frequently depicts scenarios of conflict with alien species, suggesting deep-seated xenophobic tendencies. Zeri's sensory tentacles coiled in distress. She had watched thousands of human entertainment narratives during her research. Yes, some depicted conflict, but far more showed hopes of peaceful contact, dreams of galactic cooperation, and scenarios where humans sacrificed everything to help alien species. The council chambers erupted in discussion. Kivix stood proudly, his reputation as the galaxy's leading xenoanthropologist secure. His warning about humanity would be remembered for generations. As the session concluded, Zeri slipped away from the observation ring, clutching her personal data core. Inside it were thousands of recordings that told a different story. Humans delivering supplies to elderly neighbors, emergency services working tirelessly during disasters, global relief efforts coordinating to help regions in crisis. But who would believe a junior researcher over the renowned Dr. Kivix? Little did any of them know, events were already in motion that would prove just how wrong they were about humanity's true nature. Senior Medical Officer Lyra pressed her upper appendages against the cold surface of the Medical Transport's control panel, all four of her eyes fixed on the rapidly declining quantum core readings. The Meraxian vessel Healing Light shuddered around her, its usually pristine white corridors now bathed in the crimson glow of emergency lighting. Core stability at 28% and falling. announced First Engineer Tex, his scale-line throat pulsing with stress. The containment field is barely holding. Lyra's secondary heart began beating faster, joining the rhythm of her primary one. In the cargo hold behind them, 40,000 doses of Centurion fever antidote were slowly warming above their crucial storage temperature. The colony on New Proxima had reported over 3,000 cases already, and without this medicine. "What about the Sktheri research station?" she asked, her translator struggling to maintain clarity through her rising anxiety. "They're only 2 light hours away." Communications Officer Pell swiveled in her suspension chair, her bioluminescent spots glowing a worried amber. "They're responding." But she hesitated, her tendrils curling inward. "They're advising us to avoid the nearby human space at all costs. They say humans are likely to either ignore our distress call or attempt to salvage our ship for parts." Another violent shudder ran through the ship. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the artificial gravity wavered. "Core stability at 22%, Tex reported grimly. "We have maybe 30 minutes before total failure." Lyra's tertiary brain ran the calculations while her primary and secondary brains weighed the options. The Sktheri were the galaxy's foremost experts on emerging civilizations. Their warning about humans had been broadcast across all major channels, but the nearest non-human assistance was 5 hours away at best. "Officer Pell." Lyra straightened her posture, a decision crystallizing across all 3 of her brain centers. "Broadcast an emergency signal on all frequencies, including human channels." Medical Officer Lyra. Pell's spots shifted to a deep purple of concern. "The Sktheri reports clearly state, the reports won't matter if we're dead, and thousands of colonists die from Centurion fever." Lyra cut in, surprising herself with her firmness. "Send the signal." The next 3 minutes felt like an eternity. The core continued its descent toward critical failure, and Lyra found herself wondering if the Sktheri had been right. Perhaps humans would simply... Multiple contacts. Pell's spots flashed bright yellow in surprise. 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL travel. They're human ships. The main screen activated, showing 3 vessels of varying sizes. Their designs were unlike anything in the Galactic Registry. Less elegant than Meraxian ships, more functional than aesthetic, with sharp angles and exposed hardware that would make any Centaurian architect faint. "This is Captain Chen of the Earth Medical Transport, Hope's Horizon." A voice came through in perfect galactic common. "We've detected your quantum core destabilization. We have experience with similar systems and are ready to assist. Please share your shield frequencies." Before Lyra could respond, 2 more messages arrived. "Mining vessel Deep Rock Pioneer here. We've got spare quantum stabilizers if you need them. Research ship Curiosity's Child standing by. We have power cells charged and ready for emergency transfer." Lyra's 3 brains struggled to process this response. Not only had humans answered their call, but 3 separate vessels had diverted their courses to help, and none of them had mentioned payment or salvage rights. "Medical Officer," Tex called out, his scales now a pale shade of worry. "Core at 17%. We need to decide now." Lyra took one last look at the Sktheri warning flashing on her secondary screen. Then she reached out and opened a channel to the human vessels. "This is Senior Medical Officer Lyra of the Meraxian Transport Healing Light. We gratefully accept your assistance. We're also carrying urgent medical supplies that need to reach New Proxima within 40 standard hours." "Understood, Healing Light." Captain Chen responded without hesitation. "Let's get you fixed up and back on your way. Those people need their medicine." As the human ships moved into position around them, Lyra couldn't help but wonder what else the Sktheri might have gotten wrong about humanity. Captain Sarah Chen kept her voice steady as she coordinated with the other human vessels, but her mind was racing through contingency plans. The Meraxian ship's quantum core readings were worse than she'd initially thought. On her command deck's main screen, the healing light hung against the star-studded backdrop, its elegant white hull designed for beauty, rather than the practical redundancies human ships favored. Engineering team ready for transfer. Her chief engineer, Raj Patel, reported through the ship's comm. He'd already suited up with his team, their modified EVA suits adapted for working with alien technology. But Captain, these readings. We've never dealt with a Meraxian quantum core before. No time like the present to learn, Sarah replied, managing a small smile despite the tension. The mining vessel's stabilizers will buy us time to figure it out. The Deep Rock Pioneer had already moved into position, its sturdy frame dwarfing both medical ships. Its captain, a gruff woman named Mackenzie, kept a running commentary as her crew prepared the emergency stabilizers. These babies have saved our hides in the Kuiper Belt more times than I can count, Mackenzie transmitted. They're not pretty, but they work. On the research vessel, Curiosity's Child, Dr. Amanda Torres had been rapidly comparing the Meraxian core specifications with known quantum technologies. Captain Chen, we've analyzed their containment field. It's similar to the Centaurian design we studied last year. We're sending you the modification protocols now. Sarah watched as her crew coordinated with the other ships without missing a beat. No one had even questioned diverting from their original courses. The Hope's Horizon was supposed to be heading home after a 3-month relief mission to the Pleiades colonies. The crew had been talking about the upcoming solar festival for weeks. Engineering team. Transferring now, Raj reported. The airlock camera showed him and his team crossing to the Meraxian vessel, carrying tools and equipment that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Human engineers had a habit of modifying everything they touched, much to the confusion of other species. Senior Medical Officer Lyra's voice came through, her translator conveying a mix of hope and anxiety. The core is at 14%. The medical supplies. The stasis field is weakening. Understood, Sarah responded. She opened a channel to all 3 human ships. Listen up, everyone. Those supplies are needed at New Proxima within 40 hours. Failure isn't an option. The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity. Mackenzie's crew installed the quantum stabilizers while Raj's team, guided by Dr. Torres's analysis, worked to modify the containment field. The Meraxians watched in fascination as the humans improvised solutions that would make any standard engineer faint. Core stabilizing, Tex, the Meraxian engineer, announced with obvious relief. Up to 32%, 40%. The stabilizers will hold, Mackenzie assured them. But you'll need a proper dock for full repairs. Sarah had already been calculating travel times and distances. The Hope's Horizon was the fastest of the 3 human ships, equipped with the latest drive systems for emergency medical response. She opened a channel to Lyra. Medical officer, our ship can reach New Proxima in 36 hours. We should transfer the supplies and... Captain, her first officer, David Kim, interrupted quietly. The crew's families. The solar festival. Sarah glanced at the crew on her bridge. They'd already missed 3 holidays this year. The solar festival was the biggest celebration back home, and they'd been promised time off. But as she met their eyes one by one, she saw the same determination she felt. The crew of the Healing Light did everything right. She transmitted to all channels. They maintained their course as long as possible, trying to complete their mission. We're not letting them down now. She paused, then added, any crew who wished to transfer to the other vessels for faster return to Earth. Not a chance, Captain, her helmsman called out, followed by similar responses across the ship. Well then, Sarah allowed herself a genuine smile. Medical Officer Lyra, let's get those supplies transferred. My crew will show yours our cargo systems. They're not as elegant as yours, but they're fast. The Meraxian officer's translator took a moment to process before responding. Captain Chen, the Scatheri reports never mention this aspect of humanity. Why would you delay your celebration to help strangers? Sarah thought about the colony she'd visited, the faces of people who needed help, alien or human. Because someday we might be the ones sending out a distress call. And even if we're not, Helping is what humans do. The Grand Nexus station hung in space like a luminous snowflake, its crystalline spires catching light from 3 different suns. In the station's bustling trade district, beings from 100 different species gathered at the famous Starfall Cafe, where stories spread faster than light itself. Today, the usual hum of conversation had taken on a different tone. At a corner table, Captain Lyra of the Healing Light sat surrounded by an eager audience, her 4 eyes brightened as she recounted her experience with the human ships. They didn't even discuss payment, she explained, her translator crystal pulsing with earnest energy. The mining vessel used their own quantum stabilizers, expensive equipment, and when I tried to arrange compensation, their captain just laughed and said, "Pass it on." A Centaurian trader's crystal matrix flickered with skepticism. But the Scatheri reports. "Look," interrupted a gruff voice. A Rigelian cargo pilot leaned forward, their armored exoskeleton gleaming under the cafe's ambient lighting. "Last week, my ship hit an unexpected debris field near the Horsehead Nebula, cracked our main drive housing. Know who stopped to help? Human mining ship. They didn't just repair it. They reinforced it better than new. Wouldn't take payment either." Similar stories began emerging around the cafe. A Pleiadian scientist described how Earth universities had freely shared breakthrough research on gravity wave manipulation. An Aldebaranian medical coordinator spoke of human doctors volunteering during a crisis on their colony worlds. Near the cafe's observation window, Station Director Venix watched the growing crowd with all 3 of their sensory clusters fully extended. As the station's administrator, they had accessed the official Scatheri reports on humanity dozens of times. Yet the evidence mounting in their database told a different story. Their assistant, Min Sho, a human liaison officer recently assigned to the station, approached with the daily reports. "Director, you might want to see this." The data crystal displayed a curious trend. Human vessels were consistently deviating from their registered flight paths, burning extra fuel and time to pass near common trade routes and colony worlds. The pattern made no sense until Min Sho explained. "They're conducting wellness checks," she said, smiling at the director's confusion. "After that incident with the Meraxian medical transport, a lot of our captains started taking alternate routes just to make sure everyone in their sector was okay." "That seems inefficient," Venix observed, their middle sensory cluster pulsing with confusion. "Maybe." Min Sho shrugged. But last week, the Star Wanderer found a Danebian scout ship with a failing life support system because of these inefficient routes. No distress signal. Their communications were down. The crew would have died if the humans hadn't checked on them. In another corner of the cafe, a young Andromedian researcher was showing footage from Earth's historical archives on their portable projector. The images contradicted everything in the Scatheri reports. Humans forming vast networks to help strangers during natural disasters, creating organizations dedicated to helping other humans and animals alike, risking their lives to save others without hesitation. Their entire culture has countless examples of this behavior, the researcher explained excitedly. They have ancient stories, myths, and legends all centered around helping others. They even have a human phrase for it, paying it forward. Director Venix watched as the stories continued to spread throughout the station. Their security feeds showed similar discussions happening in the diplomatic sector, the merchant quarters, and even the usually stoic engineering division. The galaxy was beginning to see a very different picture of humanity than the one painted by the Scatheri. As if to punctuate this shift, a new alert appeared in their feed. A human vessel, the Stellar Guardian, had just requested emergency docking. Their cargo hold was full of medical supplies, and they picked up fragments of a transmission about a possible epidemic in the Outer Rim colonies. They hadn't received an official distress call. They simply heard there might be trouble and came to help. Venix approved the docking request immediately. Perhaps, they reflected, the true danger of humanity wasn't their independence or unpredictability, Perhaps the real shock was how their simple acts of kindness could reshape the very foundations of galactic society. The warning came from a small human research station on the edge of the Carina Nebula. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been monitoring stellar activity when her instruments detected something that made her blood run cold. The nearby star, HD 93129A, was about to release a massive coronal mass ejection. This is Dr. Rodriguez of Earth Science Station, Stellar Watch broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. She transmitted, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. We're detecting an imminent Class X solar event. 3 habitation rings are in the projected path. Estimated time to impact, 4 hours. In the Galactic Council's Emergency Response Center, the alert triggered immediate chaos. The habitation rings house over 2 million beings from dozens of species. Chief Administrator Nextel's crystalline form pulsed with rapid color changes as they processed the incoming data. Evacuation protocols suggest we need at least 6 hours to safely transfer the populations, a Pleiadian coordinator announced, their bioluminescent patterns showing clear distress. The Sktari research vessel Truth Seeker is nearest to the area, another coordinator reported. They're requesting that we follow standard procedures and wait for proper authorization before. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Hope's Horizon. A new voice cut through the chamber. The same human captain who had helped the Meraxian transport weeks ago. We're already en route with our experimental shield technology. 7 other human vessels are converging on the location. Nextel's color patterns shifted to show confusion. Captain Chen, the Council hasn't authorized. With respect, Administrator, Sarah interrupted. We can discuss authorization after we save those people. In the first habitation ring, Curator Lurin watched in mounting terror as the emergency alerts flashed across their screens. The ring's shield systems were never designed to handle a stellar event of this magnitude. Around them, the ring's 30,000 residents were beginning to panic. Then the first human ship arrived. The Hope's Horizon looked tiny against the massive habitation ring, but it moved with purpose. 6 more human vessels emerged from FTL travel within minutes, each taking strategic positions around the rings. This is Sarah's voice came through on all channels. We're deploying experimental shield harmonics. Our ships will create a protective barrier while you evacuate. Please begin moving residents to your central hubs. That's impossible. Dr. Fix's voice cut in from the Truth Seeker. Your ship's shields cannot withstand. Already done it once, Sarah replied. Titan Colony, Sol System. We lost 3 ships but saved 16,000 people. The shield modifications came from that experience. Aboard the Hope's Horizon, Sarah turned to her crew.
Morning.
This is volunteer only. What we're about to do, the shields will hold, but our ships are going to take one hell of a beating. We're staying. Her first officer, David Kim, spoke for the entire bridge crew. Similar responses came from the other human vessels. The solar storm hit like a celestial hammer. The human ship's shields blazed brilliant blue, creating a protective web around the habitation rings. Inside the barrier, evacuation ships darted back and forth, transferring residents to safety. On the Galactic Council's emergency channel, the human captains maintained a steady stream of communication, adjusting shield harmonics and power distribution on the fly. Their ships groaned under the stellar onslaught, but they held position. Ring 1 cleared. Ring 2 at 60% evacuation. Shield power at 40%, rerouting from non-essential systems. Hull temperature climbing, but we're not moving. In the council chamber, Nextel watched in amazement as the humans coordinated their efforts without any central authority, each ship adapting independently while working in perfect concert with the others. Hours later, when the storm finally passed, the human ships were scorched and damaged, their hulls bearing the scars of their stand against the star itself. But the habitation rings were intact, and not a single life was lost. As repair crews swarmed the damaged vessels, Captain Chen received a priority message from Earth. She expected a reprimand for acting without authorization. Instead, she found a list of every human ship in the sector, all volunteering to help with the recovery efforts. "Send them our coordinates," she told her communications officer, a tired smile crossing her face. "Looks like we've got more work to do." Junior researcher Zuri sat in her private quarters aboard the Truth Seeker, her sensory tendrils coiled tightly against her body as she reviewed the footage for the 100th time. The human ship's defense of the habitation rings played on one screen while her original research data filled 3 others. Her third heart began its stress rhythm as she overlaid the timestamps. During the exact period when Dr. Kvix claimed humans were exhibiting dangerous individualistic behavior, her observations showed something entirely different. She had recorded thousands of instances of humans helping each other, emergency services rushing into danger, global relief efforts, stranger helping stranger. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. Zuri quickly minimized her screens, but relaxed when she saw it was from Lyra, the Miraxian medical officer she'd befriended after the quantum core incident. "Have you seen the latest from the habitation rings?" Lyra asked without preamble, her 4 eyes bright with excitement. "The humans didn't just save everyone. They're staying to help with repairs. They're treating it like some kind of community project. They're calling it a space barn raising, whatever that means." Zuri's tendrils unknotted slightly. "Lyra, I need your help. Can you send me your complete sensor logs from when the human ships helped you, including all behavioral data?" "Of course, but why?" "Please," Zuri interrupted, her tone carrying an urgency that made Lyra's secondary heart skip. "It's important." As soon as the Miraxian data arrived, Zuri began her analysis. The pieces were falling into place. Dr. Kvix's report had used selective editing so subtle that even the Galactic Council's fact-checkers had missed it. He had taken footage of human emergency responses and reframed them as chaotic behavior. Scenes of humans rushing into danger to help others were labeled as reckless individualism. Her door chime sounded. "Enter," she called, quickly saving her work to a secure data crystal. Dr. Kvix himself glided in, his senior researcher robes immaculate as always. "Ah, Zuri, still analyzing the human response to the solar storm. Fascinating display of their chaotic nature, wasn't it?" "Actually, sir," Zuri straightened her posture, all 4 of her hearts pounding. "I've been reviewing our original research. All of it." Kvix's primary tendrils twitched. "There's no need. My report was quite thorough." "Like how thorough you were in editing out the human emergency services." Zuri projected an original footage stream onto her main screen. "Or how you removed every instance of their relief efforts." "You don't understand." Kvix's color patterns shifted to warning hues. "The Scatheri have spent centuries building our reputation as the galaxy's humanitarian leaders. When we did..."
Here are the next 20 paragraphs, continuing from paragraph 20. 21. Defendant David Archbell was repeatedly seen near plaintiff's residence, often conducting drive-by surveillance or waiting in vehicles nearby, filming with dash or body-mounted cameras while armed or in tactical attire. 22. On May 12, 2022, Archbell and Thayer jointly live-streamed a confrontation with plaintiff in a parking lot. Both men were visibly armed, used taunting and accusatory language, and identified plaintiff by name, referencing his lawsuits. 23. The live stream was broadcast to a hostile online audience, encouraged viewer commentary mocking plaintiff, and prompted additional attempts at online defamation and cyber harassment. 24. Law enforcement reviewed this live stream but declined to press charges or intervene, despite the clear presence of firearms, aggressive conduct, and public endangerment. 25. A few days later, defendant Archbell again confronted plaintiff at a King Soopers grocery store. He was openly armed and repeated prior accusations while following plaintiff through the store, filming the encounter without consent. 26. On another occasion, Archbell followed plaintiff to a gas station and confronted him while armed. During this event, he partially unholstered his weapon in a threatening gesture, prompting a store employee to order him off the premises. 27. These encounters, occurring at routine locations near plaintiff's home, clearly demonstrate deliberate tracking and surveillance, not incidental meetings. 28. Plaintiff had never sought contact with Archbell or Thayer. All documented interactions were initiated by the two men, and always under hostile, armed, or confrontational circumstances. 29. Thayer and Archbell's actions were portrayed as a partnership in multiple online posts and videos, with both describing each other as collaborators, often appearing together in public confrontations or alternating roles in surveillance. 30. In these same posts and videos, Thayer repeatedly invoked the authority of Larimer County or unnamed law enforcement officials to justify their conduct, falsely suggesting official sanction. 31. Following plaintiff's formal complaints and filings seeking clarification of Thayer's supposed government affiliation, defendant Irod ordered that all county communications with plaintiff must go through his office only. 32. This created a procedural bottleneck that isolated plaintiff from oversight offices, denied him access to standard complaints channels, and enabled delayed, filtered, or obstructed responses. 33. Around this time, Thayer changed his narrative and denied having a contract with the county, yet continued his harassment, giving the appearance of coordination while maintaining plausible deniability for county officials. 34. The sequence and timing of these shifts strongly suggest back-channel communications between Thayer and county legal personnel, including defendant Irod, designed to avoid accountability while preserving pressure on plaintiff. 35. Plaintiff filed multiple protection order requests based on the pattern of armed harassment by Archbell and Thayer. Despite submitting video evidence and other documentation, the courts denied relief without holding full evidentiary hearings. 36. Plaintiff was further harmed when, after following a clerk's instruction to deliver legal paperwork to Thayer's known address, he was cited with harassment, a charge based solely on that legal service attempt. 37. The citation and subsequent chilling effect on plaintiff's ability to serve court documents represent a direct interference with his access to legal remedies in court processes. 38. Subsequent efforts to appeal or refile for protection were similarly blocked, delayed, or dismissed on procedural grounds without meaningful review, continuing a pattern of systemic obstruction. 39. Meanwhile, neither the city of Fort Collins nor Larimer County took any internal steps to investigate the involvement of their employees or the connection to the ongoing harassment plaintiff was experiencing. 40. The apparent indifference of both municipalities, coupled with their employees' conduct and the private actors' unchecked behavior, constituted a pattern of retaliation and systemic abuse of authority designed to suppress plaintiff's legal rights. Shall I continue with paragraphs 41 through 60?
Stahl announced, "We propose the establishment of a new emergency response network, not controlled by the Council, but coordinated between all willing species, a system that combines human adaptability with the unique strengths of each civilization." The chamber's holographic displays shifted, showing a map of known space. Points of light indicated every registered ship that had volunteered for the new network. The number was staggering. Thousands of vessels from hundreds of species, ready to help anyone in need. "We were wrong about humanity," Mextol concluded. "We saw their independence as a weakness, their emotional responses as a flaw. Instead, they have shown us a better way. Not through rigid structures or careful protocols, but through immediate action and genuine care for others." Sarah stood a little straighter, feeling the weight of the moment. "We're not special," she said simply. "We just believe that helping others is the right thing to do. And it seems we're not the only ones who think that way." As if to prove her point, an emergency signal flashed on the chamber screens. A transport was in trouble near the outer rim. Before the council could respond, ships of 6 different species were already changing course to help. Not because they had to, not because it was protocol, but because that's what people did when others needed help, no matter what species they happened to be. The Earth-designed Emergency Response Center floated serenely in orbit around Proxima Centauri, its crystalline observation dome reflecting starlight in patterns that please both human and alien aesthetics. Inside, Zeri stood before the main control center, her research tendrils moving gracefully across the holographic displays as she monitored rescue operations across 3 sectors. 1 year had passed since the Council's historic decision, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The young Scatheri scientist now led the Joint Species Emergency Response Initiative, or JSERI, a position that would have been unthinkable in the old days of rigid hierarchies. "Incoming priority signal," announced Lyra from her medical coordination station. The Meraxian's 4 eyes focused on the data stream. "Passenger liner reporting engine troubles in the outer rim. 200 civilians aboard." Zeri's tendrils flowed through the sector data. "Nearest vessels. 3 ships already responding," Lyra reported with a smile. "The human vessel Star Shepherd, a Scatheri research ship New Horizon. And this is interesting, the Healing Light." Zeri recognized the name. It was Lyra's old ship, now part of the Rapid Response Fleet. On the main screen, she watched the 3 vessels converge on the liner's position. No hesitation, no bureaucratic delays, just immediate action. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came through the comm system. She had been appointed as humanity's representative to JSERI's advisory board, though she still preferred active duty on the Hope's horizon. "Zari, just finished reviewing your proposal for the new training program. The combination of Scatheri analytical methods with human practical exercises is brilliant. When can we start?" "The first class begins next week," Zeri replied, watching as the rescue ships reached the liner. "We have students from 12 species enrolled. Even Dr. Kivix has volunteered to teach the theoretical components." That had been an unexpected development. After the scandal of his deception, Kivix had resigned his position in shame. But months of watching humans work alongside his people had transformed him. He now dedicated himself to understanding and teaching what he once feared: the art of immediate practical assistance. The main screen showed the rescue in progress. The human ship provided power support, while the Scatheri vessel used its advanced sensors to diagnose the engine problem. The Healing Light stood ready to receive passengers if evacuation became necessary. 3 species working in perfect concert, each contributing their unique strengths. Director Zeri, a young Scatheri aide, approached, offering a data crystal, the latest statistics from the network. The numbers were remarkable. Emergency response times had decreased by 60%. Survival rates in crisis situations had nearly doubled. But more impressive were the cultural changes. Species that had once been rigidly isolated now worked together regularly. Knowledge and resources were shared freely. "New emergency signal," Lyra announced. "But it's different. A Denibian colony is requesting assistance with a planetary engineering project. Not an emergency, they just need help." Zeri felt her heart's warm. This too had become common. Species reaching out for help before situations became critical, knowing they would be met with willing assistance rather than bureaucratic procedures. "I remember," Sarah's voice carried a smile, "when we were told humans wouldn't assist. That we were too individualistic, too chaotic to work with others. Now look at us, all of us." The observation dome's transparent sections offered a view of nearby space, where ships of various species went about their duties. Many bore the distinctive blue stripe that marked them as emergency response vessels. Each had a unique story of lives saved, help given, and bonds formed. On the wall of the control center, a simple plaque bore the words that had become JSERI's unofficial motto: "In space, no one succeeds alone." Below it, in smaller text, "Dedicated to those who teach us that helping others is never a sign of weakness, but the greatest strength we possess." Zeri's tendrils moved through the sector data one last time before her shift ended. Somewhere out there, another call for help would come, and when it did, someone would answer. Not because of protocols or regulations, but because that's what people did. After all, she reflected, watching the stars shine through the dome. That's what humans had taught them, and some lessons were too valuable to forget.
The problem with being the only xenozoologist on Kepler 186f wasn't the isolation, the deadly predators, or even the perpetual twilight that made Earth's gloomy Seattle winters look positively cheerful. No, the real problem was having no one to appreciate my absolutely brilliant commentary on the absurdity of my situation. Recording day 847, I spoke into my datapad, watching as a six-legged herbivore that I'd nicknamed George munched on the bioluminescent vegetation near my research station. Subject continues to demonstrate remarkable inability to notice when he's being stalked. Betting pool on George's survival remains open. Current odds, not great. I'm Elena Martinez, and somehow I'd convinced the Interstellar Research Council that sending me alone to study the wildlife on humanity's latest colonization prospect was a good idea. Their exact words were uniquely qualified, but I'm pretty sure what they meant was only person crazy enough to volunteer. The research station sat perched on a ridge overlooking the Valley of Perpetual Mistakes. My name for it, not official, though I was working on that. Every day, I watched the planet's various species make questionable life choices from the safety of my reinforced observation dome. The valley featured a lovely mix of dangerous flora, even more dangerous fauna, and the occasional cosmic ray that made Earth's UV index look like a nightlight. But the real stars of my impromptu wildlife documentary were the night stalkers. Picture a cross between a panther, a wolf, and your worst nightmare. Then add 2 extra sets of eyes and the kind of intelligence that makes you seriously question your place on the food chain. They were the apex predators of this world, and they knew it. Night stalker pair approaching from the northeast, I narrated, zooming in with my cameras. Female displaying typical hunting behavior, male following with all the subtlety of a drunk elephant. Reminder to self, update species description, to note that despite evolutionary advantages, some individuals still manage to be absolutely terrible at their jobs. The pair moved like liquid shadows through the phosphorescent undergrowth, their scales shifting colors to match their surroundings. Well, the females did. The male kept cycling through patterns like a malfunctioning Christmas display. I'd spent nearly 3 Earth years studying these magnificent creatures, cataloging their behaviors, and occasionally hiding in my panic room when they got a little too curious about the strange biped in their territory. We'd developed what I like to call a professional understanding. They pretended not to notice me, and I pretended not to notice when they deliberately posed for my cameras. Additional note, I added, suppressing a yawn as I checked the time. Day 847 marks the 3rd consecutive week of night shift observations, because someone, not naming names but it rhymes with Eleanor, forgot that predators are most active during the darkest hours. Future researchers, please remember, coffee does not ship well across interstellar distances. Plan accordingly. Little did I know, my carefully maintained routine of observation and sarcastic commentary was about to be completely upended. The universe, it seemed, had decided that my life wasn't interesting enough. It was about to throw me a curveball that would either make my career or end it, possibly along with my life. But first, I needed more coffee. I'd like to say the universe waited until I'd at least finished beyond my station's perimeter. Now, on a planet where everything either wants to eat you or poison you, often both, investigating strange noises ranks somewhere between juggling plasma cores and licking unknown fungi on the scale of bad ideas. For the record, I muttered into my datapad, if this is how I die, I want my epitaph to read, She died doing what she loved, making questionable decisions in the name of science. The sound came again, weaker this time. My sensors showed no adult night stalkers in the immediate vicinity, which was either really good news or really bad news. In my experience, there's rarely any in-between on Kepler 186f. I grabbed my field kit, sealed my envirosuit and stepped out into the perpetual twilight. The bioluminescent flora cast enough light to navigate by, painting everything in shades of blue and purple. The yowling led me to a dense thicket of what I called sparkleweed, on account of its tendency to shed glowing spores when disturbed. "Oh no," I breathed, spotting the source of the sounds. "Oh no, no, no." There, tangled in the sparkleweed's sticky fronds, were two night stalker cubs. Their scales hadn't yet developed the full color-changing abilities of adults, leaving them stuck in a patchy pattern of greys and blues. One was completely trapped, while its sibling made pitiful attempts to free it. "Recording emergency addendum," I spoke quietly. "Day 847, approximately 0300 hours, have discovered two juvenile night stalkers, estimated age 3 to 4 months. One severe adhesive sparkleweed. No sign of parent. Cubs show signs of dehydration and distress." The free cub hissed at me, trying to look threatening. Also been hiccuping glowing spores. "Listen here, tiny terror," I said, slowly crouching down. "I know you're trying your best to be scary, but right now you look about as threatening as a grumpy kitten at a disco party." I pulled out my bioscanner, confirming what I'd suspected. They'd been alone for at least 12 hours. In the wild, night stalker cubs never left their mother's side for more than an hour until they reached maturity. Something had happened to their parent, and these two wouldn't survive another day without help. Right then, I started unpacking my field kit. Let's add potential death by angry returning parent to my list of workplace hazards. Still better than the faculty meetings back on Earth. The free cub watched with all 6 eyes as I prepared a solution to dissolve the sparkleweed's adhesive. Its sibling had stopped struggling, which worried me more than the prospect of Mama Night Stalker returning to find a human manhandling her babies. "No," I told the standing cub as I worked, "most xenozoologists get to make their breakthrough discoveries from nice, safe observation blinds. But no, Elena Martinez has to get up close and personal with the offspring of the planet's apex predator. My doctoral advisor would be having an aneurysm right now." The dissolving agent worked quickly, and soon I had one very sticky, very frightened cub free from the sparkleweed. Both cubs were severely dehydrated and covered in glowing spores. They needed medical attention, and I was the only option available on this twilight death world. "All right, children of the night," I said, taking off my outer jacket to make a carrying sling. "Time to trust the weird bipedal alien. I promise the next few hours will be less traumatic than your sparkleweed disco adventure." To my absolute shock, they didn't resist when I gathered them up. The weaker cub actually snuggled into my envirosuit, while its sibling maintained a grumpy but accepting demeanor. "Recording additional note," I whispered as I hurried back to the station. "Either I'm about to make xenozoological history, or I'm about to become the galaxy's shortest-lived amateur veterinarian. Also, someone please tell Dr. Chen back at the Academy that yes, sometimes you do have to interfere with nature. His non-intervention policy can kiss my soon-to-be-eaten backside." The real challenge would come when their mother returned. But for now, I had 2 very important patients to attend to, and a rapidly dwindling supply of coffee to keep me alert for what promised to be a very long night. It turns out treating night stalker cubs is a lot like trying to give medicine to earth cats, if earth cats were the size of small wolves and had enough teeth to make a shark feel inadequate. The good news was that they responded well to basic rehydration and care. The bad news arrived around dawn. "Recording day 848, I whispered into my datapad. "The cubs are stable, but my security system just picked up an adult night stalker approaching at high speed. Based on size and movement patterns, it's almost certainly Mama. Current survival probability. Let's not think about that right now." I'd prepared for this moment as best I could. The cubs were in my medical bay, which had a reinforced observation window. I stood in plain view, making no sudden movements. Everything I'd learned about Night Stalkers told me the mother would be able to smell her cubs through the station walls, and hiding them would only make things worse. The mother Night Stalker emerged from the twilight like a nightmare given form. Her scales rippled with patterns of rage and fear, emotions I'd catalogued many times, but never hoped to see this close. All 6 eyes locked onto me, and I swear I could feel my ancestors' primitive instincts screaming to run. Recording possible final note, I murmured. To whoever finds this, the cubs are in the medical bay, second door on the left. Also, I was right about Night Stalkers being empathically sensitive to color patterns. Currently, this one is displaying what I'm going to call Code Murder Rainbow. The mother stalked closer, her movements precise and deadly. I kept my breathing steady and spoke in the calmest voice I could manage. "Your cubs are safe," I said, knowing she couldn't understand the words but hoping my tone would help. "They got tangled in sparkleweed, you know, that annoying glowy stuff that sticks to everything. Yeah, I hate it too, but they're okay now. Would you like to see them?" She paused, head tilting slightly. I moved very slowly toward the medical bay window, keeping my movements telegraphed and smooth. The cubs, who had been dozing, perked up at the sight of their mother. They began making excited chirping sounds that I'd previously only heard from a distance. "See? They're fine. Just needed a little help from their friendly neighborhood human." I carefully pressed the button to raise the window's blast shield. "Though I have to say your parenting style of leaving them alone for 12 hours seems a bit questionable. Not judging, just saying maybe we should talk about proper childcare practices." The mother Night Stalker's color patterns shifted rapidly, cycling through what I recognized as confusion, relief, and something I'd never seen before. She approached the window, pressing one massive paw against it. The cubs rushed to the other side, leaving glowing paw prints from their still spore-covered feet. "Recording amendment," I said softly, witnessing unprecedented behavior. "Subject is displaying non-aggressive investigation of human structure while cubs are present. Also, note to self, clean glowing paw prints off everything later." What happened next nearly stopped my heart, directly at me, and deliberately sat down. Not the hunting crouch I'd seen them use before an attack, but a calm, almost regal sitting position. Her scales settled into a gentle swirling pattern I'd only seen Night Stalkers use with their own young. "Well," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady, "either I'm about to make scientific history, or this is an elaborately planned pre-dinner show. Since I'm feeling optimistic, let's try something really stupid." Moving with the same deliberate slowness, I opened the medical bay door. The cubs immediately bounded out, covering me in more glowing paw prints before rushing to their mother. I stood perfectly still as 300 pounds of apex predator approached me with 2 excited cubs bouncing around her feet. She stopped less than a meter away, lowered her massive head to my eye level, and did something that changed everything I thought I knew about alien intelligence. She blinked, slowly and deliberately, with all 6 eyes. "Recording critical observation," I whispered, as tears began rolling down my cheeks. Day 848 marks the first recorded instance of a Night Stalker displaying the universal signal of trust toward a human. Also marking the first time a xenozoologist cried in front of her research subject. Maintaining professional dignity is no longer a priority. If someone had told me at the start of my mission that I'd end up running an alien predator daycare, I would have questioned their sanity, their sobriety, or both. Yet here I was, 3 weeks after the sparkleweed incident, watching my security monitors light up with another Night Stalker approach. "Recording day 869, I sighed into my datapad. "That makes the 4th set of visitors this week. Apparently word of mouth works even when said mouth contains enough teeth to make a tyrannosaur jealous." The approaching Night Stalker moved with an unusual gait, and it didn't take long to see why. Trotting alongside her was a cub with an obviously injured leg. They headed straight for my station's main entrance, which by now had more Night Stalker scent marks around it than a feline social media convention. "Welcome to Dr. Martinez's house of slightly concerning life choices," I announced as I suited up. "Today's special is basic first aid with a side of professional reputation suicide." The mother I'd started calling her Limpy's mum in my notes, for obvious reasons. Waited patiently as I examined her cub. The little one had managed to get its leg caught in what I suspected was a carnivorous vine trap. These creatures really needed to work on their situational awareness. You know, I told the mother as I cleaned the wound, back on Earth, we have this saying about it taking a village to raise a child. I don't think they meant for that village to consist of one slightly unhinged human scientist, but here we are. The original mother and her cubs still visited regularly, usually bringing me samples of their kills, because apparently I now qualified for their version of a gift basket. The cubs had taken to leaving glowing paw prints on my windows, which I'd given up trying to clean. My research station looked like it had been decorated by a rave-loving Jackson Pollock. Recording supplemental observation, I narrated while applying a biodegradable bandage to the cub's leg. Subject population continues to demonstrate remarkable ability to communicate complex information between family groups. Current theory: they've either developed an extensive gossip network about the helpful bipedal idiot, or they're all laughing at me in a language I can't understand. Both scenarios seem equally plausible. Word spread faster than a rumor in a small-town coffee shop. By the end of the month, I had regular visits from no fewer than 6 different family groups. They brought me their injured, their sick, and occasionally their just plain clumsy offspring. One particularly memorable afternoon, a male night stalker, distinguishable by his complete inability to maintain camouflage patterns, showed up with 3 cubs who had gotten into something similar to Earth's poison ivy. I don't suppose any of you would be willing to fill out a patient satisfaction survey, I asked the assembled group of predators lounging around my station's perimeter. No? How about a Yelp review? 5 stars. Great service, minimal screaming, excellent with cubs. The adults had taken to hunting in shifts near my station, leaving their cubs in what they apparently considered safe territory while they secured food. This led to some interesting moments when supply ships arrived. No, Captain Rogers, your eyes are not deceiving you, I explained over the comlink to a very confused delivery pilot. Those are indeed night stalkers napping around my landing pad. Yes, they're supposed to be there. No, they won't eat you, probably. Just land slowly and try not to look delicious. My daily reports to the Research Council became increasingly entertaining to write. 0600, treated minor laceration on juvenile night stalker. 0800, removed parasitic organism from cub's ear canal. 1000, discovered cubs have learned to activate my door's motion sensors for fun. 1200, attempted to explain to adult night stalker why cubs cannot live in my station permanently. 1400, failed to explain above point convincingly. 1600, resigned self to role as alien predator kindergarten teacher. The truly fascinating part was watching how the species adapted their behavior around the station. They began marking safe paths for their cubs to follow, creating what amounted to a primitive highway system leading right to my door. The adults would take turns standing guard, their color patterns shifting in what I began to recognize as a complex communication system. Recording behavioral note, I whispered one evening, watching a young mother being instructed by an older one on the proper way to present an injured cub to me. Witnessing unprecedented cross-generational knowledge transfer. Also witnessing what appears to be the galaxy's first alien predator masterclass in how to train your human. My research station, once a solitary outpost of scientific observation, had become something between a wildlife clinic and an interspecies community center. The original mother, now dubbed First Mom in my entirely professional scientific notes, had taken to leaving fresh kills by my door. I tried not to take it personally when they were still slightly alive. I appreciate the thought, I told her after one such delivery, but I do have food synthesizers. Also, my definition of fresh meat and yours seem to differ significantly on the subject of movement. Perhaps the most surprising development was how the cubs began treating the station as a safe space during their learning hunts. More than once, I'd watched through my cameras as a young night stalker, embarrassed by a failed hunting attempt, would slink to my station for what I could only describe as a pep talk. Yes, I saw you miss that 6-legged rabbit thing, I consoled one such visitor. But you know what? When I first landed here, I walked face first into a sparkleweed patch. We all have our off days. The problem with making groundbreaking scientific discoveries is having to convince other scientists you haven't completely lost your mind, especially when your evidence includes video feeds of apex predators using your research station as a daycare center. Let me get this straight, Dr. Martinez, Dr. Thompson said during our monthly video conference, his bushy eyebrows trying to escape his forehead. You're claiming that Kepler-186f's most dangerous predatory species is bringing you their injured young for medical care. No, I corrected him, keeping my face perfectly serious. I'm claiming they're bringing me their injured young for medical care and leaving me thank you gifts in the form of partially dead prey animals. There's a difference. Right on cue, a Night Stalker cub chose that moment to press its face against my window, leaving yet another set of glowing paw prints. All 6 of its eyes blinked at the video feed, and I swear it was grinning. As you can see, I gestured to the window, I'm running what amounts to the galaxy's first alien predator preschool, complete with finger painting, though they prefer to use bioluminescent spores. The Scientific Council's collective expression suggested they were considering whether isolation had finally broken my sanity. Dr. Chen, my old advisor, looked like he was having that aneurysm I'd predicted. This goes against everything we know about predatory species behavior, he sputtered. It violates basic survival instincts. It's happening right outside my window, I finished for him. Would you like me to pan the camera around to show you the 6 adult Night Stalkers currently having what appears to be a parents' association meeting near my landing pad? I did just that, revealing the group of massive predators lounging in the perpetual twilight. One of them, First Mum herself, looked directly at the camera and slowly blinked all 6 eyes. That one's saying hello, I explained. She's also probably wondering why I'm talking to a screen instead of attending to her cub's latest attempts to redecorate my station with glowing paw prints. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Thompson tried again. While your observations are interesting, we need more concrete data, reproducible results, scientific verification. Oh, absolutely, I agreed cheerfully. I've attached 6 weeks of continuous video footage, detailed behavioral analyses, medical records for 27 different cubs from 12 family groups, and a rather impressive collection of glowing paw print patterns that I'm thinking of submitting to an art gallery. Also, 3 different supply ship pilots have submitted sworn statements that yes, those are actually Night Stalkers napping around my landing pad. The council fell into a stunned silence as they reviewed the data on their screens. I used the moment to wave at another cub who had joined the window art exhibition. I'm also noting, I continued, that this behavior appears to be spreading through the species via social learning. In the past month alone, I've documented 14 new family groups approaching the station, all displaying the same learned behaviors as the original group. I'd demonstrate their greeting ritual, but I'm afraid I can't blink my eyes independently, much less do it 6 times in sequence. Dr. Chen looked like he was about to launch into another lecture about non-intervention in natural behaviors, but I cut him off. Before you say it, yes, I know this defies conventional wisdom about predator species. Yes, I'm aware this will rewrite several chapters in xenobiology textbooks. And yes, I'm absolutely going to name this phenomenon the Martinez effect. If only because I've earned the right to make future students memorize something I discovered while running an alien predator nursery. The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Dr. Thompson cleared his throat. We'll need to send a verification team, he said weakly. Wonderful, I beamed at them. I'll inform the Parents Association. Fair warning though, they may expect the verification team to participate in our weekly hunt and seek games. Don't worry, we've only had 3 minor maulings, and those were really more like enthusiastic love taps. As if to punctuate my point, a chorus of Night Stalker cubs began their evening singing practice outside. The sound, somewhere between a wolf's howl and a cat's midnight yowling, caused several council members to jump in their seats. That's just the evening choir, I explained. They're still working on their harmony. Now, if you'll excuse me, I believe it's story time. The cubs are particularly fond of my dramatic reenactments of Earth wildlife documentaries. The last thing the council saw before I ended the call was a parade of glowing paw prints making their way across my window, accompanied by my voice beginning, "Today on planet Earth." Of course, the universe waited until the verification team was in orbit to throw me its biggest challenge yet, because timing, as they say, is everything. Recording emergency log, I gasped into my datapad while running to the station's perimeter. Day 912. Multiple Night Stalkers approaching station. Something's wrong. Very wrong. The pre-dawn darkness was alive with movement. Every Night Stalker family I'd ever treated was converging on my station, their scales flickering with patterns I'd never seen before. At their center, they carried someone, and even in the dim light I could see the blood. It was First Mum, and she wasn't moving. "Oh no," I breathed, rushing to meet them. "No, no, no, you cannot do this to me, not with a team of skeptical scientists about to land." The other Night Stalkers parted as I approached, forming a circle around their injured packmate. First Mum had a massive wound in her side, the kind that meant she'd tangled with something even bigger and nastier than herself. Her cubs, now almost fully grown, paced anxiously nearby. "Recording update," I muttered, pulling out my medical scanner, about to attempt emergency surgery on an adult Night Stalker. If anyone's listening, this is either going to be the greatest breakthrough in xenobiology or my spectacularly stupid last act. The scanner showed massive internal damage. She needed immediate surgery, but my medical bay was designed for cubs, not 300-pound adults. Still, this was First Mum, the one who'd started it all, who'd first trusted me with her babies. "Right then," I announced to the assembled predators. "Family only in the operating room. The rest of you, try not to eat any scientists who might land while I'm busy." What followed was 6 hours of the most intense surgery I'd ever performed, assisted by medical robots and fueled by enough synthetic stimulants to keep a coffee shop in business. First Mum's cubs never left the observation window, their glowing paw prints adding to the thousands already there. When the verification team shuttle finally broke atmosphere, they were greeted by the sight of dozens of Night Stalkers arranged in concentric circles around my station, all facing outward in defensive positions. In the medical bay, First Mum was breathing steadily, her scales finally showing normal patterns again. "Recording final note," I said, slumping against the wall as the shuttle landed. Day 912, patient stable, successfully completed first ever major surgery on an adult Night Stalker, also successfully turned my research station into the galaxy's most heavily defended veterinary clinic. I looked out at the assembled predators, then at the approaching verification team, and couldn't help but laugh. "Welcome to Kepler 186F, I called over the comlink. "Don't mind the welcoming committee, they're just here for their regular checkup." The verification team stayed for 3 months. They left with enough data to fill a dozen dissertations, several minor injuries from over-enthusiastic cubs, and a completely revised understanding of alien intelligence. I stayed, of course. Someone had to run the clinic. Recording day 1001, I spoke into my datapad, watching First Mum lead her newest litter of cubs toward my station. The Interstellar Research Council has officially designated Kepler 186F as a protected research site, with special emphasis on preserving the unique human-Night Stalker relationship. In related news, they've also approved my request for a bigger medical bay. Apparently, having the galaxy's deadliest predators as character references does wonders for grant applications. First Mum's newest cubs had already mastered the art of leaving glowing paw prints on my windows. The original ones still visited regularly, now bringing their own cubs for checkups. My station's walls had become a living history of generations of Night Stalker families, each set of prints telling its own story. "Final observation for today," I said, opening the door to greet my patients. Humans have always had this thing about making friends with predators. From the first wolves that wandered into our camps to the apex predators of an alien world, we just can't help ourselves. But maybe that's our species' greatest strength, the ability to earn trust, to offer help, to build bridges across the greatest of divides. I paused, watching the cubs tumble toward me. That, and our unmatched talent for running interplanetary veterinary clinics with absolutely no proper qualifications whatsoever.
The void of space shimmered as the Galactic Empire's emissary vessel appeared in high orbit above Earth, a monolithic construct bristling with alien weaponry. It loomed like a celestial predator, its hull a sleek amalgamation of polished onyx and glowing circuitry that pulsed with an eerie rhythmic light. Earth's skies, once serene, seemed to ripple under the vessel's oppressive presence, the stars dimming as though in deference to this intruder. On board the UES Vanguard, Earth's flagship orbital command station, Commander Elias Grant stood by the observation window, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. His reflection in the thick glass betrayed the tension he refused to show. A face carved with lines of experience, eyes darkened by too many sleepless nights, and a jaw set like granite. Below him, Earth spun in all its fragile beauty, its blue oceans and verdant continents now vulnerable under the shadow of an interstellar menace. "Sir?" Lieutenant Celeste Ward said, her voice low and controlled despite the urgency in her tone. "The Empire has begun transmitting. The signal's been translated and patched through to the main comms." Grant nodded, his gaze fixed on the alien ship. "Play it." The bridge fell silent as the transmission began. The voice that filled the room was both haunting and imperious, a guttural resonance layered with metallic overtones. Each word seemed to ripple through the air like an unspoken threat. "People of Earth," it intoned, "you stand at the threshold of destiny. The Galactic Empire extends an offer of mercy. Submit to our dominion, and you shall prosper as vassals under our protection. Resist, and your world will burn in the crucible of progress." Grant turned from the window, his eyes narrowing as the voice continued, extolling the supposed virtues of assimilation, while promising annihilation as the alternative. He noticed his crew exchanging uneasy glances, their hands twitching near their consoles, as if proximity to their instruments might ground them amidst the storm of fear. The transmission ended with a single line that lingered like an acrid taste. "You have 24 hours to choose." "Cowards," Ward muttered under her breath, earning a rare half-smile from Grant. "They're used to quick victories," he said, his tone heavy with quiet resolve. "It's about time someone taught them what humanity does when backed into a corner." He turned to the bridge crew, the steely edge of command sharpening in his voice. "Alert all stations. Begin battle readiness protocols. If they want to threaten Earth, we'll make them regret it." The room came alive with motion, the hum of machinery rising like a battle hymn. Keyboards clattered as officers relayed orders. Screens flickered with tactical readouts, displaying Earth's defensive assets, a network of orbital platforms, surface-based railguns, and the experimental Argus array, a weapon shrouded in secrecy. Ward approached Grant, her steps deliberate. "Do you think we're ready for this, sir? They've subjugated entire star systems. Their fleet is..." "Overconfident," Grant interrupted. He exhaled slowly, the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. "They see us as primitives because we don't flaunt what we have. They'll learn the hard way." The comm officer called out, "Incoming visual feed from the United Earth Council, Commander." "Put it through," Grant said. The holographic projector at the center of the room shimmered to life, revealing the solemn faces of the Council. President Lydia Markov, her piercing green eyes framed by silver hair, leaned forward, her expression grim. "Commander Grant," she began, her voice firm but laced with concern. "You've reviewed the Empire's ultimatum. What is your assessment?" "They're testing us," Grant replied, his voice unwavering. "They expect fear, capitulation. If we fold now, we're as good as dead. But if we stand..." "They won't stop until Earth is ashes," another counselor interrupted. "We cannot fight them, Commander." Grant's jaw tightened. "We can, and we will. The Empire underestimates us because they've never faced an enemy like humanity. If we use our strengths, ingenuity, adaptability, we can hold our ground." Markov held up a hand, silencing the others. "What do you propose?" "Let them make the first move," Grant said. "We lure their scout fleet into the system and cripple it. That will buy us time to mobilize fully and send a message that Earth isn't an easy target." Markov studied him, her gaze searching for cracks in his confidence. She found none. "Very well. You have our authorization, Commander. But understand, failure is not an option. The projection flickered off, leaving the room heavy with the unspoken implications of her words. Ward, Grant said, turning to his second-in-command, ensure our orbital platforms are synced with the planetary defense grid. Prepare all railguns and alert the Argus array crew to stand by. If they cross the line, we hit them hard. Yes, sir, Ward said, her tone crisp as she snapped a salute and moved to relay the orders. Hours passed like molasses, each second stretching under the weight of anticipation. The tension was palpable, a silent predator stalking the bridge. Outside, the stars glimmered indifferently, a cruel contrast to the fear simmering on Earth's surface. Finally, the sensors officer broke the silence. Commander, we have multiple contacts entering the Kuiper Belt. They match Empire fleet signatures. Grant stepped forward, his voice a controlled growl. Details. 5 vessels, light-class frigates, likely scouts, the officer replied. ETA to inner system, 20 minutes. Just as expected, Grant murmured. Bring the platforms online. I want the railguns targeting their lead ship. We'll give them a welcome they won't forget. The minutes crawled by as the alien ships approached, their sleek forms cutting through the void with predatory grace. The bridge crew held their breath, their eyes glued to the tactical display. Then, the Empire vessels crossed an invisible threshold. Fire, Grant ordered. The orbital platforms unleashed their payloads, railgun slugs tearing through space at hypersonic speeds. The lead frigate shuddered as the first impact ripped through its hull, an explosion of debris and fire illuminating the darkness. The second and third frigates broke formation, their shields flaring as they scrambled to adapt. Direct hit, Ward said, her voice tight with suppressed exhilaration. The lead ship is neutralized. Good, Grant said. Now let's see how they handle the rest. The Empire ships retaliated, beams of searing light arcing toward the orbital platforms. The shield arrays flared, absorbing the brunt of the assault, but cracks began to form. Shift defensive focus to platforms 6 and 7, Grant barked. And fire again. Keep the pressure on. The room was a storm of activity, the air thick with the scent of ozone from overtaxed systems and the metallic tang of sweat. The hum of the Argus array charging was a constant undercurrent, a reminder of humanity's secret weapon waiting in reserve. The second volley hit true. 2 more frigates reduced to glowing wreckage. The remaining ships attempted to retreat, their engines blazing as they veered away from the onslaught. Shall we pursue? Ward asked, adrenaline sharpening her voice. No, Grant said, his tone heavy with finality. Let them run. Let them tell their empire that humanity isn't afraid of war. The bridge fell silent as the last of the Empire ships vanished into the void. The faint scent of scorched electronics lingered, a testament to the battle's intensity. Grant turned to the observation window, his reflection a silhouette against the planet below. Earth still spun, fragile yet defiant. They wanted war, he said, more to himself than anyone else. We'll give them a war they'll never forget. The faint afterglow of the battle lingered like dying embers against the velvet backdrop of space. Commander Elias Grant stood motionless at the observation window, his reflection fractured by the web of faint cracks forming in the Vanguard's protective glass. The tension in his jaw mirrored the state of his crew, unyielding but tested. Below, Earth spun in serene defiance, blissfully unaware of the cosmic maelstrom encroaching upon its fragile existence. They'll come back, Grant said, his voice a low growl that cut through the silence of the bridge. And next time, it won't be scouts. Lieutenant Ward, standing at his side, nodded but hesitated, her sharp features drawn tight with concern. Sir, the damage to platforms 6 and 7 is severe. Repairs are underway, but if the main fleet arrives before we're ready, they'll arrive, Grant interjected, his voice a blade of certainty. He turned to face his officers, his gaze steely, unwavering. And we'll meet them with everything we have. The bridge buzzed with quiet activity as the crew worked feverishly to assess the aftermath. The faint hum of the tactical displays was underscored by the rhythmic clatter of fingers on keyboards. Sweat mingled with the faint metallic tang of coolant leaks, and the air felt thick, almost electric. with the weight of what lay ahead. "Commander," the sensors officer called out, his voice tight. "We're picking up a new signal near the Kuiper Belt. It's not Empire. Smaller, weaker, possibly a civilian or an independent vessel." Grant's brow furrowed as he leaned over the officer's console. The display flickered with an erratic blip, faint but distinct. "Patch it through." A garbled transmission crackled to life, the alien voice trembling with a mix of urgency and fear. The universal translator struggled to piece it together, spitting out fragmented words. "Human vessel, request, alliance, empire, relentless, need." Grant straightened, his mind racing. Another piece of the puzzle. Another unknown. He turned to Ward. "Get me a comms link to that ship. If they're seeking an alliance, they'll need to prove they're worth the risk." Within moments, the link was established. The holographic projector sparked to life, revealing a gaunt alien figure with pale, translucent skin that shimmered faintly like moonlight on water. Its eyes, large and reflective, darted nervously as it spoke. "I am Aaron of the Kelith Resistance," the alien said, its voice carrying an eerie, melodic quality. "We have fought the Empire for generations, but we are failing. Your defense, your defiance, it gives us hope." Grant studied Aaron with the precision of a predator sizing up a potential ally or threat. "Hope doesn't win wars, Aaron. What do you bring to the table?" The alien hesitated, its gaze flickering to something off-screen. When it looked back, there was a flicker of determination in its expression. "Knowledge. The Empire's weaknesses, their plans, their arrogance blinds them, but we've seen their cracks. Help us, and we'll help you exploit them." Ward crossed her arms, her skepticism palpable. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" Aaron leaned forward, its tone urgent. "You don't. But if you wait to act, the Empire's fleet will consume your world before you can decide. They are mobilizing, now." Grant's mind churned, weighing options like a general surveying a battlefield. Finally, he nodded. "Send them docking coordinates. We'll hear them out, nothing more." The alien's image flickered out, leaving the bridge in a heavy silence that seemed to amplify the hum of the engines. Grant turned to Ward. "Prepare security teams. If this goes sideways, I want to be ready." Ward nodded and strode away, barking orders into her comm unit. Grant watched her go, his mind already racing ahead. He didn't trust Aaron, but he couldn't ignore the possibility of leverage. Earth needed every advantage it could get. Hours later, the Kelith vessel docked with the Vanguard, its exterior a patchwork of scarred plating and flickering lights, a testament to years of relentless pursuit. The docking bay was tense, the air thick with the sharp scent of engine oil and ozone. Security officers stood in rigid formation, their rifles gleaming under the harsh lights. Grant entered the bay, his presence commanding. Aaron emerged from the Kelith ship, accompanied by two smaller figures cloaked in tattered robes. The aliens' movements were cautious, deliberate, as if walking a tightrope over an abyss. "Commander Grant," Aaron said, bowing slightly, "your hospitality is appreciated." "This isn't hospitality," Grant replied, his tone as cold as the void outside. "It's survival. Talk." Aaron gestured to its companions, who produced a holographic device. The air shimmered with projections of Empire fleets, vast, unending formations of starships, their configurations intricate and precise. The sheer scale was staggering, a living storm of war. "This is what you face," Aaron said, its voice trembling. "But even the mightiest storm has an eye." The projection shifted, zooming in on a massive central ship, a monolithic dreadnought surrounded by smaller vessels. "This is the Dominion, the flagship of their fleet. It controls their forces through a central AI network. Sever that connection, and their coordination collapses." Ward frowned, her skepticism evident. "And how exactly do you propose we sever it?" Aaron's gaze hardened. "A surgical strike, a small team, armed with EMP disruptors, infiltrates the Dominion and disables the AI core. It won't destroy the fleet, but it will give you time to regroup, to prepare." Grant's expression was unreadable, but his mind was a storm. The plan was madness, but it was also the first glimpse of a weakness in the Empire's seemingly impenetrable armor. "We'll consider it," he said finally. "For now, you're under observation. Step out of line and it's over." Aaron nodded, the weight of desperation etched in its every movement. "Thank you, Commander, for hope." As the Kelith delegation was escorted away, Grant remained in the docking bay, staring at the empty space where their ship had landed. The scent of scorched metal lingered in the air, a reminder of the battles already fought and the greater ones to come. He activated his comm. "Ward, meet me in the war room. We need to plan for what happens when the Empire realizes we're not going quietly." The war room was a stark contrast to the rest of the Vanguard, its walls lined with holographic displays, the air humming with the faint buzz of active systems. Grant stood at the central console, his hands gripping its edges as he studied the projections of Earth's defenses. "We're outnumbered," Ward said bluntly, standing beside him. "Even with the Kelith's intel, their fleet will overwhelm us." "Then we make them fight on our terms," Grant replied. His voice carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken contingencies. "We use the Argus array, the orbital platforms, everything. We bleed them dry before they reach Earth." Ward hesitated, then spoke, her tone softer. "Sir, this is more than just tactics, isn't it? You're carrying the weight of the whole planet on your shoulders." Grant's jaw tightened. For a moment he said nothing, the silence filled with the faint hum of the displays. Finally he spoke, his voice low. "Earth survived everything thrown at it, wars, disasters, ourselves. We're still here because we don't give up, and I'll be damned if I let the Empire be the thing that breaks us." Ward nodded, her respect for him deepening. "Then let's make sure they regret picking this fight." As the Vanguard prepared for the next phase, the void outside remained eerily still, a canvas waiting for the chaos to come. But within the station, the spark of defiance had become an inferno. Humanity was ready to face the storm. The hum of the UES Vanguard's engines reverberated faintly through the walls, a steady rhythm that seemed to mirror the pulse of its crew. Commander Elias Grant leaned over the holotable in the war room, the faint glow from the projections casting sharp shadows across his weathered face. The Empire's fleet loomed in miniature above the table, a sea of jagged starships, their formations tight and unyielding, their numbers a testament to overwhelming power. "You're sure about this?" Lieutenant Ward asked, her voice tinged with unease. She stood opposite Grant, her arms crossed tightly as if holding herself together. "Sending a stealth team into Empire territory is a gamble. If they're caught—" "They won't be," Grant interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. "They can't be. We don't have the luxury of waiting for the next move. If we're going to survive, we need to hit first, and for that, we need intel." The projection shifted, zooming in on a distant star system labeled Oranon Prime, an Empire-controlled mining colony. Aaron, the Kelith resistance leader, stood at the edge of the room, his translucent skin catching the light as he stepped closer. "Oranon is vital to the Empire's war machine," Aaron said, his voice soft yet firm. "Its refineries produce the fuel that powers their fleets. If you strike there, it will cripple their supply lines. And it's also heavily guarded," Ward countered, her skepticism evident. "We're talking orbital defenses, ground troops, surveillance drones. How exactly do you suggest we get in without being vaporized?" Aaron met her gaze, unflinching. "There's a weakness in their detection grid, an asteroid belt that runs parallel to the colony's orbit. It creates blind spots in their sensors. Your ships can slip through unnoticed." Grant studied the holotable in silence, his mind piecing together the fragments of a plan. Finally he straightened, his voice a quiet command. "Assemble the team. I'll lead them myself." "Sir," Ward protested, her voice rising, "you're too valuable to risk on a mission like this. Let someone else—" "This isn't up for debate," Grant said, his tone cutting through her objection like a blade. "If this mission fails, we're dead anyway. I'm going." Ward's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She knew better than to argue when Grant's mind was set. Instead, she nodded curtly and turned to relay his orders. Hours later, the stealth cruiser Shadow's Edge slipped silently from the Vanguard's hangar, its matte black hull blending seamlessly with the void. The ship's interior was dimly lit, the only sounds the soft hum of its engines and the occasional murmur of the crew. Grant sat in the command chair, his hands gripping the armrests as the ship navigated the asteroid field with surgical precision. The cockpit was filled with the faint smell of ozone and heated metal, a reminder of the ship's delicate dance through the debris. The view screen displayed a chaotic ballet of tumbling rocks, some small as fists, others as large as city blocks. Each one glittered faintly with icy reflections, their jagged surfaces casting shadows that danced across the ship's hull. "Approaching Oranon Prime," the pilot announced, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We're within their detection range." "Hold course," Grant ordered, his voice low but firm. "Keep us in the blind spot." The crew worked in silence, their movements precise and deliberate. The atmosphere was taut, the weight of the mission pressing down on everyone. The faint scent of sweat mingled with the recycled air, and Grant could feel the subtle vibration of the ship's thrusters through his boots. As they neared the colony, the view screen filled with the stark contrast of Oranon Prime. The planet's surface was a hellscape of industrial sprawl, towering refineries belching plumes of smoke into a crimson sky, their skeletal structures illuminated by the flicker of molten rivers that crisscrossed the ground. Orbiting the planet were several Empire warships, their angular forms bristling with weapons that glinted ominously in the dim light. "Stealth systems holding," the pilot reported, her fingers dancing across the controls. "We're undetected." Grant nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen. "Good. Bring us into position above the colony's southern quadrant. That's where we'll infiltrate." The landing was smooth, the Shadow's Edge settling into a shadowed crevice on the planet's surface. The team disembarked quickly, their boots crunching against the rocky terrain. The air was thick and acrid, stinging their lungs with every breath. Overhead, the sky churned with smoke and ash, casting the world in a perpetual twilight. Grant led the team, his rifle held at the ready as they moved toward the refinery complex. The sound of machinery echoed across the landscape, a cacophony of grinding gears and hissing steam that made it impossible to hear anything else. The acrid scent of burning metal filled the air, clinging to their clothes and skin like a second layer. They reached the perimeter of the refinery, crouching behind a jagged outcrop of rock. Ahead, the complex sprawled like a mechanical behemoth, its labyrinthine corridors patrolled by Empire soldiers in gleaming silver armor. Drones buzzed overhead, their lights scanning the ground with clinical precision. "Timing is everything," Grant whispered, his voice barely audible over the din. "Wait for the drones to pass, then move." The team nodded, their movements synchronized as they advanced in short, controlled bursts. Each step was calculated, each breath held as they navigated the maze of pipes and catwalks. The refinery pulsed with heat, the metal underfoot radiating a stifling warmth that seeped through their boots. Inside, the air grew heavier, the scent of oil and scorched circuits filling their nostrils. The refinery's interior was a maze of twisting corridors and towering machinery, the walls slick with condensation that glistened like molten glass. "This way," Grant said, gesturing toward a control room perched above the main floor. They climbed a narrow staircase, the metal groaning under their weight, until they reached the room. The walls were lined with consoles and monitors, each one displaying streams of data in an alien script. Aaron stepped forward, his delicate fingers flying over the controls. The monitors flickered, their displays shifting to reveal schematics of the Empire's fleet. "Here," he said, his voice trembling with urgency. "This is what you need." Grant leaned over his shoulder, his eyes scanning the data. The schematics detailed the Dominion and its vulnerabilities. But there was something else, an encrypted file marked with a symbol he didn't recognize. "What's that?" he asked, pointing to the file. Aaron hesitated, his expression unreadable. "I don't know. It wasn't there before." Grant's gut tightened. "Download it anyway. We'll figure it out later." As the data transfer completed, the room shuddered violently, a deep rumble echoing through the refinery. The lights flickered and alarms blared, their shrill cries cutting through the air like a blade. "They found us," Grant said, his voice a cold command. Move! The team sprinted through the corridors, the sound of approaching soldiers growing louder with every step. The clash of metal boots against the floor echoed behind them, punctuated by the sharp crack of blaster fire. They reached the exit just as an explosion rocked the refinery, a plume of fire and smoke erupting behind them. The heat seared their skin, and the acrid stench of burning fuel filled their lungs as they sprinted toward the Shadow's edge. The ship's ramp lowered, and they scrambled aboard, the engines roaring to life as the refinery disappeared in a blinding inferno. The crew collapsed into their seats, their breaths ragged as the ship ascended into the relative safety of space. Grant sat in the command chair, his grip tightening on the armrests. His mind churned with questions as he stared at the encrypted file glowing faintly on the console. Whatever it contained, he knew one thing. It was more than just data. It was a key to something far greater. And whatever lay ahead, it was only just beginning. The Shadow's edge slipped back into the hangar of the UES Vanguard, like a shadow swallowed by the night. Its scorched hull bore the scars of their mission, jagged burns and pockmarks that told the story of their escape. The hiss of depressurizing hydraulics was the first sound to pierce the heavy silence as Commander Elias Grant stepped onto the deck. The crew surrounding him straightened, their faces lined with both exhaustion and anticipation. Lieutenant Ward was waiting, her sharp eyes darting from Grant to the data drives clutched in his hand. "Did you get what we need?" she asked, her voice tight. "We got more than we bargained for," Grant replied, his tone weighted with implication. "Assemble the War Council. We don't have time to waste." The war room buzzed with activity as the senior officers and representatives of Earth's military forces gathered. The air was thick with tension, an unspoken understanding that what came next would determine not just the outcome of the war, but humanity's survival. Aaron, the Keleth resistance leader, stood at the edge of the room, his pale features unreadable as he watched the proceedings. The holographic table flickered to life, projecting the schematics of the Empire's fleet. The Dominion, their flagship, dominated the display, a behemoth of impossible scale, bristling with weapons that seemed to absorb the surrounding light. It was the heart of the Empire's war machine, the linchpin of their strategy. Grant placed the encrypted file on the console, the drive clicking into place. The data unfolded across the table, revealing detailed schematics of the Dominion's interior. But the file's contents didn't stop there. It revealed a second layer, a network of connections stretching across the galaxy, linking the Dominion to other Empire strongholds. "This," Grant said, gesturing to the display, "is their lifeline. The Dominion isn't just a ship, it's their nerve center. It coordinates every fleet, every attack, every defense. If we take it out, we don't just cripple them, we sever their ability to wage war." Ward leaned in, her brow furrowing as she studied the holographic web. "How do we get close enough to deliver a strike? Their fleet outnumbers us 100 to 1. A direct assault would be suicide." Aaron stepped forward, his translucent skin catching the light. "There's a weakness in their network. The Dominion relies on quantum relays to maintain its coordination. If we target those relays, we can force the ship to operate independently. Vulnerable, isolated." Grant nodded. "We hit the relays first. 3 of them spread across the system, small, lightly defended. Once they're down, we bait the Dominion into a trap." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a grizzled colonel with a scar tracing his jawline, spoke up. "A trap? Against that monster? Even isolated, it's a floating fortress." "That's why we make them come to us," Grant said, his voice calm but unyielding. "The Argus Array, it's time we put it to use." The mention of Earth's most secret weapon sent a ripple through the room. The Argus Array was a planetary defense platform, experimental and untested in combat. It had been designed for one purpose: to deliver a concentrated energy burst capable of penetrating the most advanced shields in the galaxy. But its power came at a cost. Overuse could destabilize Earth's orbit, a risk too great to consider until now. Ward broke the silence, her voice measured. "You want to lure the Dominion within range of the array, then take it out in one shot?" Grant nodded. "Exactly. We bait them with a tactical withdrawal, make them think we're retreating, that Earth is vulnerable. They'll come in for the kill, and that's when we hit them. Aaron's voice was soft but firm. And the relays? Who handles those? I will, Grant said. His gaze swept the room, silencing any objections before they could be spoken. This has to be surgical, fast, precise. We hit all 3 relays simultaneously and disable their network. Then we fall back and prepare for the final strike. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the faint hum of the holographic display. The enormity of the plan settled over them like a leaden weight. It was bold, reckless even, but it was also their best chance. Prep the teams, Grant said finally, his voice cutting through the tension. We move at dawn. The operation began with a cold efficiency that belied the chaos to come. 3 strike teams, each aboard a stealth cruiser, launched from the Vanguard, their trajectories calculated to thread the needle between Empire patrols and automated defenses. The relays were spread across the system, their locations marked by faint pulses on the navigational displays. Grant's team targeted the first relay, a sleek, angular structure orbiting a barren moon. The cruiser approached under the cover of its cloaking field, its engines whispering against the silence of space. Inside, the air was tense, the scent of adrenaline and anticipation mingling with the metallic tang of recycled oxygen. Visual on the relay, the pilot announced, her voice hushed. No sign of enemy ships. That's what worries me, Grant muttered, his eyes fixed on the view screen. The relay loomed ahead, its surface bristling with antennae that glowed faintly with energy. It looked deceptively dormant, a sleeping giant waiting to strike. The team disembarked quickly, their boots crunching against the relay's surface. The faint hum of the machinery vibrated through their souls, a reminder of the power coursing beneath their feet. Grant led the way, his rifle at the ready, as they moved toward the control hub. Inside, the air was cold and sterile, the walls lined with consoles that pulsed with a faint alien light. The smell of ozone was sharp and biting, a byproduct of the relay's energy output. Aaron worked quickly, his delicate fingers dancing across the controls as he bypassed the security systems. Almost there, he said, his voice taut with concentration. Just a few more. An alarm blared, its shrill cry cutting through the room like a knife. The lights dimmed, replaced by a pulsing red glow. Grant spun, his rifle aimed at the doorway as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridor. They know we're here, he said, his voice a grim growl. Hold them off while Aaron finishes. The first Empire soldiers burst into the room, their armor gleaming under the red light. Grant fired, the crack of his rifle deafening in the confined space. The air filled with the acrid scent of burnt metal and ozone as the team fought to hold the line. Done! Aaron shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. We're clear! Fall back! Grant barked, covering their retreat as they sprinted toward the cruiser. The relay erupted in a plume of fire and smoke behind them, the explosion shaking the ground beneath their feet. Hours later, back aboard the Vanguard, the War Council reconvened. The holographic display showed the results of their efforts. All 3 relays were down, their destruction leaving a gaping hole in the Empire's network. They'll know we're coming now, Ward said, her voice edged with both triumph and caution. The Dominion won't take this lying down. They don't have to, Grant replied, his gaze fixed on the display. We've already made our move. Now we see if they take the bait. Outside the observation window, the void of space stretched endlessly, a canvas for the battle yet to come. The Vanguard's crew worked tirelessly, their movements precise and deliberate as they prepared for the final confrontation. The hum of the engines was a constant reminder of the stakes, a pulse that echoed in the hearts of everyone aboard. As Grant stood at the window, the weight of the plan pressing against his shoulders, he allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. The Empire thought it had humanity cornered, but they had underestimated one simple truth. Cornered animals didn't surrender. They fought. The UES Vanguard drifted silently through the void, its exterior lights dimmed to blend with the endless expanse of stars. The The silence inside the war room was suffocating, punctuated only by the faint hum of machinery and the low voices of officers discussing final preparations. Commander Elias Grant stood at the center, his gaze fixed on the holographic projection of Earth's orbit. Every flickering light, every marker, was a representation of humanity's resistance. Lieutenant Ward leaned over the table, her brow furrowed as she studied the tactical readouts. "The Dominion is moving," she said, her voice sharp. "They're regrouping near the inner system. If they engage at full strength, we won't have time to reposition the array." "They'll engage," Grant replied, his voice a calm contrast to the tension surrounding him. "We've forced their hand. The relays are gone. They're blind and angry, and that's when they're most vulnerable." Aaron, the Kelith resistance leader, stepped forward, his translucent features illuminated by the glow of the display. "And if they see through the ruse, if they suspect the array, then we adapt," Grant said. His tone left no room for doubt, but there was an edge to his words, a quiet admission that there were no guarantees. The display shifted, zooming in on the Argus array, a towering construct of interconnected satellites and ground stations. It glimmered faintly against Earth's shadow, its massive energy conduits pulsing like the veins of a sleeping giant. The array was humanity's secret weapon, its last hope. But its activation carried risks no one fully understood. "Positioning is critical," Ward said, gesturing to the Dominion's projected trajectory. "If we fire too early, their shields will absorb the blast. Too late, and the recoil could destabilize the planet's orbit." "Then we don't miss," Grant said, his gaze hard as steel. "We draw them in, force them into the kill zone. The Vanguard will lead the charge, supported by the lunar defense grid. Once the Dominion is in range, we retreat, and the array takes the shot." Aaron tilted his head, his reflective eyes narrowing. "And what of the rest of their fleet? They won't simply stand idle." "We'll deal with them in pieces," Grant replied. He gestured to the holographic display, highlighting a series of defensive positions across the inner system. "Mars, Luna, and the orbital platforms will provide cover fire. It won't stop them, but it'll buy us the time we need." The room fell into a tense silence as the enormity of the plan settled over them. Each phase was precise, dependent on timing and coordination. A single misstep could spell disaster. Ward broke the silence, her voice low. "We're cutting it razor thin, sir." "That's where we shine," Grant said, a faint flicker of a smile crossing his lips. "Humans don't fight fair. We fight smart." The hours before the battle were a blur of preparation. Crews swarmed the Vanguard's corridors, their boots echoing against the metallic floors. The scent of machine oil and sweat hung heavy in the air as engineers double-checked systems, their hands stained with grease and grime. Weapons bays buzzed with activity as technicians calibrated railguns and missile arrays. In the hangar, fighter pilots prepared for launch, their helmets clutched under their arms. The sharp tang of ozone from the charging engines filled the space, mingling with the faint vibrations of the ship's core. Conversations were brief, punctuated by the occasional bark of an officer or the hiss of hydraulics. Grant walked the length of the hangar, his presence a steadying force. He paused near a group of soldiers, their faces hardened with resolve. "You know the stakes," he said, his voice carrying over the din. "This isn't just about Earth. It's about showing the Empire that we don't break, that we don't run. We fight because we have something worth protecting." The soldiers straightened, their eyes blazing with determination. "Yes, sir," they replied in unison. Grant nodded, moving on. Every word, every glance was calculated to ignite the fire they would need in the hours to come. The Dominion arrived like an omen, its massive silhouette blotting out the stars as it emerged from hyperspace. Its angular hull glowed faintly, reflecting the light of distant suns, and its weapons bristled with an energy that seemed to vibrate through the very fabric of space. Surrounding it were hundreds of smaller ships, their formations tight and disciplined. On the Vanguard's bridge, the atmosphere was electric. Officers moved with a deliberate urgency, their eyes darting between consoles and displays. The faint hum of the engines was drowned out by the low murmur of voices and the occasional burst of static from the comms. "They're here," Ward said, her voice steady but tense. "Exactly as predicted." Grant stood at the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. His gaze was fixed on the Dominion's position, its trajectory aligning with the calculated kill zone. "Hold formation," he ordered. "Let them come to us." The first exchange came moments later. The Empire's ships surged forward, their weapons lighting up the void with bursts of plasma and ion fire. The Vanguard's shields flared under the assault, their energy rippling like water against a storm. The scent of ozone filled the air as the system strained under the pressure. "Return fire," Grant commanded. The Vanguard's railguns roared to life, their projectiles streaking through space with devastating precision. Explosions dotted the Empire's ranks as smaller ships were torn apart, their debris scattering like embers in the wind. The lunar defense grid joined the fray, its beams slicing through the darkness with surgical accuracy. On the ground, the Argus array hummed to life. Energy conduits glowed with an otherworldly light, their pulse matching the rhythm of the battle above. Technicians worked feverishly, their faces slick with sweat as they monitored the system's output. The room buzzed with tension, the air thick with the metallic tang of superheated circuits. "They're closing in on the kill zone," Ward reported, her voice cutting through the chaos. 15 minutes until optimal range. Grant nodded, his mind a storm of calculations. The Dominion was inching closer, its weapons tearing through Earth's defenses like a predator closing in on its prey. The Vanguard trembled under the assault, its shields flickering with each impact. "Keep them focused on us," Grant said. "If they sense the array, this is over." The minutes crawled by, each second a knife edge of anticipation. The Dominion loomed larger on the display, its weapons glowing with an intensity that seemed to bleed through the screen. The smell of scorched metal filled the bridge as systems overloaded, the hum of the engines rising to a fever pitch. "Range confirmed," Ward said, her voice steady despite the tension. "The array is ready." Grant's gaze hardened. "All ships, fall back. Draw them in." The Vanguard and its remaining allies began a calculated retreat, their movements precise as they lured the Dominion deeper into the kill zone. The Empire's ships pursued relentlessly, their formations tightening as they prepared for a final push. On the surface, the Argus array reached critical capacity. Its conduits blazed with light, the air around it shimmering with heat. The ground trembled as the weapon prepared to fire, its energy focused into a single devastating point. "Now," Grant said, his voice a razor's edge. The array unleashed its fury. A beam of pure energy lanced through space, its brightness rivaling the sun. The Dominion's shields flared desperately, their energy bending and breaking under the assault. The beam tore through the ship's core, a chain reaction of explosions ripping it apart from within. On the bridge, a deafening silence followed. The Dominion's remains drifted into the void, its once mighty presence reduced to glowing debris. The Empire's fleet faltered, their movements disjointed as panic set in. Grant exhaled slowly, his grip on the armrest loosening. The bridge erupted in cheers, the sound a wave of relief and triumph. But his gaze remained fixed on the display, where the remnants of the battle still played out. "They'll be back," he said quietly, "but they'll think twice before underestimating us again." Ward stepped beside him, her expression softening. "We did it, sir." Grant nodded, the faintest hint of a smile crossing his lips. "Today, we showed them what it means to be human." The shattered remnants of the Dominion drifted through space, a silent testament to humanity's defiance. Yet, Commander Elias Grant knew the battle was far from over. The Empire's fleet, though disoriented, remained a threat, their movements frenzied, but still formidable. Victory in this skirmish was only a foothold in a much larger war. Standing on the bridge of the UES Vanguard, Grant surveyed the tactical displays. Each flickering light represented lives, human and alien alike, caught in the grip of an unrelenting conflict. The air was heavy with the metallic tang of overheated systems and the acrid stench of scorched wiring. Voices murmured intense conversations as officers relayed reports, their words clipped and efficient. "Status report," Grant said, his voice cutting through the din. Lieutenant Ward stepped forward, her face drawn but resolute. "The Dominion is destroyed, and the Empire's fleet is in disarray." but they're regrouping near the outer edges of the system. Early scans suggest they're calling reinforcements. Of course they are, Grant muttered, his jaw tightening. His mind raced, weighing the variables. We don't have the resources to hold them off indefinitely. We need to finish this now. Aaron, the Calith resistance leader, stood nearby, his reflective eyes narrowing as he studied the displays. Their reinforcements will be vast, he said, his voice soft but grave. If the Empire regains control, your victory here will be meaningless. Which is why we're going after their heart, Grant replied, his tone sharpened with determination. The Dominion was their linchpin, but their command structure is more resilient than we'd like. We need to strike at the core of their operations. Ward frowned, her skepticism evident. You're talking about their central command hub, deep in Empire territory, surrounded by fleets and planetary defenses. Exactly, Grant said, his gaze unyielding. If we take it out, we shatter their ability to coordinate across the galaxy. They'll lose control, and their war machine will crumble. Aaron tilted his head, his bioluminescent skin shimmering faintly. And how do you propose to breach their core? It's hidden within the Veil Nebula, a region heavily fortified and notoriously unstable. Grant turned to the holotable, activating a new projection. The nebula swirled into view, its gaseous tendrils glowing with eerie hues of green and purple. Surrounding it were dense formations of Empire warships and orbital defense platforms. At its center, a sprawling fortress bristled with weaponry, a monolithic structure that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. We won't go in guns blazing, Grant said, his voice steady. We'll use stealth and misdirection. A small strike team infiltrates the fortress, plants charges at key structural points, and takes out their command node. Meanwhile, the Vanguard and our remaining forces stage a diversionary assault at the outer perimeter, drawing their attention. Ward crossed her arms, her tone cautious but intrigued. A diversion that big will cost us. If they call our bluff. They won't, Grant said, cutting her off. We'll make sure they believe the attack is real. They'll commit their forces to defend the perimeter, leaving the core vulnerable. Aaron studied the plan in silence before nodding slowly. It's risky, but with precise timing it might work. Risk is all we have left, Grant replied, his tone dark but resolute. Prep the teams. We leave in 6 hours. The UES Vanguard and its fleet moved toward the Veil Nebula like phantoms, their engines running low to avoid detection. The ship's interior buzzed with activity, a controlled chaos of final preparations. Soldiers double-checked their gear, the scent of gun oil and freshly charged plasma cartridges filling the air. Engineers moved between consoles, their fingers dancing over keyboards as they calibrated systems for the coming assault. Grant walked the length of the ship, his boots echoing against the deck. Every glance, every nod was a silent acknowledgement of the stakes. He paused near a squad of soldiers loading equipment into a dropship. Listen up, he said, his voice carrying over the clatter of crates. The soldiers stopped, their eyes fixed on him. This mission isn't about glory or revenge. It's about survival. Every second we buy, every distraction we create, gives the strike team a chance to succeed. Trust in your training, trust in each other, and remember, Earth is counting on you. The soldiers saluted, their faces set with grim determination. Grant moved on, his thoughts a storm of strategy and consequence. He knew the risks better than anyone, but there was no alternative. Humanity couldn't afford to falter. As the fleet reached the edge of the nebula, the Vanguard sensors lit up with activity. The Empire's defenses were formidable, waves of patrolling ships and automated turrets that bristled with readiness. The nebula itself was a swirling chaos of ionized gas and electromagnetic storms, its shifting currents a natural labyrinth. Diversion team, prepare for engagement, Grant ordered. Strike team, you're clear to move. The strike team's cruiser, cloaked in adaptive camouflage, slipped into the nebula like a wraith. Inside, Grant sat alongside Ward and Aaron, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of the controls. The cockpit was silent save for the soft hum of the engines and the occasional crackle of static from the comms. The nebula enveloped the ship in a kaleidoscope of colors, its shifting light casting eerie shadows across the interior. The air was heavy with tension, every movement deliberate. The scent of ionized gas seeped through the filtration systems, a metallic tang that clung to their senses. "Approaching the fortress," the pilot reported, her voice low but steady. "Activating stealth systems." The fortress loomed ahead, a hulking mass of metal and energy that seemed to pulsate with its own malevolent rhythm. Turrets rotated lazily, scanning the void for threats, their mechanical movements precise and menacing. "Keep us in their blind spots," Grant said, his voice a whisper. "We only get one shot at this." The cruiser weaved through the fortress's defenses, its movements a delicate dance between detection and destruction. The tension inside the ship was palpable, every breath shallow, every heartbeat a countdown. They docked at a maintenance port, the hiss of the airlock a sharp contrast to the suffocating silence. The strike team disembarked quickly, their boots silent against the cold metallic floor. The air inside the fortress was oppressive, thick with the faint hum of energy conduits and the acrid scent of burning fuel. "Split up," Grant ordered, his voice low but firm. "Plant the charges at the designated points. We regroup in 10 minutes." The team moved with precision, their footsteps barely audible as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors. Each turn revealed new dangers: patrolling guards, surveillance drones, and walls lined with pulsating cables that seemed almost alive. The air vibrated with tension, the faint hum of the fortress's systems a constant reminder of the stakes. Grant and Ward reached the central control room, its walls lined with consoles that glowed with alien symbols. The air was cold and sterile, the faint scent of ozone biting at their senses. "This is it," Ward said, her voice barely above a whisper. She began planting charges along the structural supports, her movements quick and efficient. Grant's attention was drawn to the main console, its display flickering with streams of data. He hesitated, then accessed the system, his fingers flying over the unfamiliar interface. "What are you doing?" Ward asked, glancing at him. "Looking for leverage," Grant replied. His gaze narrowed as he uncovered encrypted files detailing the Empire's fleet movements and supply chains. This could change everything." Before he could delve further, an alarm blared, its shrill cry echoing through the corridors. The walls pulsed with red light, and the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. "They know we're here," Ward said, her voice tense. "We need to move." Grant nodded, downloading the data onto a portable drive before turning to Ward. "Charges set?" "Ready," she replied. "Then let's blow this place to hell." The strike team regrouped at the docking port, their movements hurried but controlled. As they boarded the cruiser, the fortress trembled, the charges detonating in a chain reaction that sent plumes of fire and smoke cascading through its structure. "Get us out of here," Grant ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos. The cruiser shot into the nebula, the fortress collapsing behind them. Explosions rippled through its core, illuminating the swirling gases with bursts of red and orange. As the ship cleared the nebula, the comm crackled to life. "Diversion team is holding the line," came the report, "but we've taken heavy losses." Grant exhaled slowly, the weight of the mission pressing against him. The data they had recovered was invaluable, but the cost of the battle was a reminder of the war's relentless toll. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice a mix of determination and weariness. "But today, we've taken their heart. Let's make sure they feel it." The Shadow's Edge coasted through the void, the Veil Nebula fading into the backdrop like the smoldering remnants of a dying star. Inside, the crew worked in silence, their faces etched with exhaustion and resolve. Commander Elias Grant stood at the cockpit's edge, the soft glow of the controls casting his features in sharp relief. The weight of the data drive in his pocket felt heavier than its size, a silent reminder of the lives traded for its acquisition. "Comms online," Lieutenant Ward announced from her station, her voice cutting through the hum of the engines. "The Vanguard is signaling. They're holding position at the fallback point." "Patch them through," Grant said, his gaze never leaving the viewport. The image of Admiral Kairos filled the console, his expression grim but resolute. Behind him, the UES Vanguard's bridge buzzed with controlled chaos. "Report!" the Admiral demanded, his tone as sharp as the edge of a blade. Grant's voice was steady, his words precise. "The mission was a success. The Empire's core fortress is destroyed, and we've recovered critical data on their fleet and supply lines. But the cost was high. The diversion team sustained heavy casualties." Admiral Kairos nodded, his expression softening for a moment. "Understood. Those sacrifices won't be in vain. What's the status of the strike team?" "All accounted for," Grant replied. "We're en route to rendezvous with the fleet. Once we're back, we'll analyze the data and plan our next move." Kairos's gaze hardened. "Make it fast. Intel suggests the Empire is already rallying reinforcements. We don't have much time." The transmission ended, leaving the cockpit in tense silence. Grant turned to Ward, his voice low but firm. "How long until we reach the fleet?" 4 hours if we maintain this trajectory," Ward replied. Her fingers danced over the controls, adjusting their course. "We'll be cutting it close." "Close is all we've got," Grant said, his tone unyielding. He turned back to the viewport, his thoughts already racing ahead to the battle to come. The UES Vanguard loomed large as the Shadow's Edge docked, its massive hull bearing the scars of relentless combat. The hangar buzzed with activity as engineers and medics swarmed the returning strike team. The air was thick with the acrid stench of plasma burns and the sharp tang of spilled hydraulic fluid. Grant stepped onto the deck, his boots clanging against the metal floor. Ward followed close behind, the data drive clutched tightly in her hand. They moved through the chaos with purpose, their destination clear. The war room was alive with activity. Officers crowded around the central holotable, their faces illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. The tension in the air was palpable, a charged current that seemed to vibrate through the walls. Grant placed the data drive on the console, the display flaring to life as its contents unfolded. The room fell silent as schematics, fleet movements, and supply chain details filled the holographic space. Every eye was fixed on the display, the magnitude of the information sinking in. "This is it," Grant said, his voice cutting through the quiet. "The key to turning the tide." Admiral Kairos stepped forward, his sharp eyes scanning the data. "What are we looking at?" Grant gestured to the display, his movements precise. "Supply routes, refueling stations, command nodes. This data exposes every weakness in their logistical network. If we target these points, we can cripple their ability to sustain their forces." Ward chimed in, her voice steady. "It's not just about supply lines. The data suggests internal fractures within the Empire, splinter factions, dissent among their ranks. If we exploit these divisions, we can sow chaos from within." Kairos's gaze was unyielding, his mind clearly working through the possibilities. "What's your plan?" Grant straightened, his voice taking on the tone of command. "We launch a two-pronged offensive. First, we hit their supply lines, hard and fast. We target key refueling stations and disrupt their logistics. Meanwhile, we deploy infiltration teams to spread disinformation among their forces, amplifying their internal divisions." "And the fleet?" Kairos asked. Grant's expression hardened. "The Vanguard and its allies hold the line. We lure the Empire into overcommitting, drawing their forces into a decisive engagement. Once they're spread thin, we strike at their command nodes and cut off the head of the serpent." Kairos studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "It's bold, risky, but it's the best chance we have." The fleet mobilized with precision, their movements coordinated like a symphony of war. Fighters swarmed through the hangars, their engines roaring to life as pilots climbed into cockpits. The scent of ozone and fuel filled the air, mingling with the faint vibration of charging weapon systems. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Grant oversaw the preparations. The tactical displays showed the fleet's formations, their paths converging on the Empire's key supply routes. The plan was ambitious, requiring perfect timing and flawless execution. "Strike teams are in position," Ward reported. "Infiltration units are standing by." "Good," Grant said. His voice carried the weight of command, steady and sure. Let's show them what it means to fight for survival. The first engagement was a storm of fire and steel. The Empire's refueling stations erupted in flames as the strike teams hit their targets with surgical precision. Explosions lit up the void, their shockwaves rippling through the surrounding debris fields. The air inside the ships was thick with tension, the scent of sweat and scorched metal clinging to every surface. Infiltration teams slipped behind enemy lines, their movements silent and deliberate. Disguised as Empire officers, they spread false orders and manipulated communications, sowing confusion and mistrust among the ranks. The Empire's forces faltered, their cohesion unraveling like a thread pulled taut until it snapped. On the front lines, the vanguard led the charge. Railguns and missile arrays roared to life, their projectiles streaking through space with deadly precision. Empire ships crumbled under the onslaught, their formations breaking as chaos took hold. Grant stood at the bridge's helm, his voice a constant presence over the comms. Hold the line, focus fire on their flanks. Don't give them room to regroup. The ship shuddered as enemy fire struck its shields, the impact sending vibrations through the floor. The faint scent of burning circuits filled the air, a reminder of the stakes. Ward's voice cut through the din. We've got incoming reinforcements on the left flank. Heavy cruisers. Redirect the lunar defense grid, Grant ordered. Target their engines. Slow them down. The battle raged on, the void alight with the clash of weapons and the glow of distant stars. Every movement, every shot was calculated, the stakes pressing against the crew like the weight of a collapsing star. Hours later, as the dust of the engagement settled, the results of the offensive became clear. The Empire's forces were in disarray, their supply lines severed, and their command structure fractured. Reports from the infiltration teams confirmed widespread dissent among their ranks. Grant stood in the war room, the tactical display showing the aftermath of the battle. The fleet was battered but victorious, their efforts yielding a critical advantage. Admiral Kairos entered, his expression grim but resolute. We've dealt them a heavy blow, but they're not finished. No, Grant agreed. But they're weakened, vulnerable, and now we have momentum. Kairos nodded. What's your next move? Grant's gaze hardened. We take the fight to them, directly. This ends with us standing over the ashes of their empire. The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling over them like the calm before a storm. The tide had turned, but the final battle loomed, its shadow stretching across the stars. The final battle began in silence, the void vast and empty, the stars watching like distant, indifferent gods. Humanity's fleet, led by the UES Vanguard, hung on the edge of the Empire's home system, a single spark against the looming darkness of the enemy's stronghold. The Imperial forces were already mobilizing, their fleets casting shadows that swallowed the light of nearby stars. Commander Elias Grant stood on the bridge, the faint glow of the tactical display reflecting in his eyes. The room was tense, the air heavy with the weight of countless lives resting on the next few hours. Every officer was at their post, their movements deliberate, their faces set. The Vanguard's engines thrummed beneath their feet, a steady heartbeat against the quiet storm of anticipation. They're coming, Lieutenant Ward said, her voice low but taut with energy. She pointed to the tactical display, where the Empire's massive armada was forming into a battle line. Thousands of ships moved with deadly precision, their sleek, angular forms bristling with weapons. Good, Grant replied, his voice calm yet firm. Let them come. We'll meet them head on. Admiral Kairos' voice came through the comms, steady but edged with urgency. Grant, we need to be sure. If this fails, if they break through, we'll lose everything. It won't fail, Grant said, his gaze never leaving the display. We've planned for this, we've paid for this, and now we finish this. The silence on the line was brief but heavy, a testament to the trust placed in him. Understood. Godspeed, Commander. The Vanguard surged forward, its fleet spreading out into a wedge formation. Fighters screamed out of their hangars, their engines blazing trails through the dark. The Empire's forces moved to intercept, their ships firing the first volleys. Beams of energy and trails of missiles lit up the void, a deadly ballet of fire and light. The Vanguard's shields flared as enemy fire struck home, the impacts vibrating through the hull. "Return fire," Grant ordered, his voice cutting through the din. The ship's railguns roared, their projectiles tearing through the Empire's front line. Explosions blossomed like brief, violent stars, the shockwaves rippling through the enemy formation. "Flank their destroyers," Grant commanded, his tone unyielding. "Keep their capital ships pinned down. Don't let them regroup." The crew moved with precision, their training and resolve carrying them through the chaos. The scent of ozone and heated metal filled the bridge as systems strained under the assault. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles, the air thick with tension. "Enemy dreadnoughts advancing," Ward reported. Her voice remained steady, but there was a note of urgency. "They're focusing fire on the Vanguard." "Let them," Grant said, his expression unwavering. "They want to focus on us? Fine, we'll give them a show." The Vanguard turned, its massive railguns unleashing a torrent of fire. The shots punched through the shields of the closest dreadnought, striking its core. The resulting explosion sent debris spinning into the enemy line, forcing them to scatter. But the Empire was relentless. More ships surged forward, their weapons blazing. The Vanguard shuddered under the onslaught, its shields straining to hold. Grant gripped the console, his jaw tight. "Hold steady," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We're not done yet." The Empire's flagship, a towering behemoth that dwarfed even the Dominion, loomed into view. Its weapons glowed with ominous energy, their power threatening to eclipse anything humanity could muster. Grant's gaze locked onto it, his expression hardening. "There it is," he murmured. "The heart of their empire." Ward turned to him, her eyes wide. "You're not seriously—" "We are," Grant interrupted. "That's our target." As the battle raged around them, Grant activated the comms, addressing the fleet. "This is Commander Grant. You know what's at stake. This is our moment, our chance to break the Empire's hold on the galaxy. They think they can crush us, but they don't understand what it means to be human. We don't just survive, we defy, we fight, and today, we win." A chorus of acknowledgments filled the channel, voices filled with determination. The fleet surged forward, their fire converging on the flagship. The enemy ship's shields flared but held, its massive form unmoving. "Target its weapon arrays," Grant ordered. "We need to neutralize its firepower." The Vanguard's weapons roared to life, their shots striking the flagship's surface. Smaller ships darted in, exploiting every opening, their attacks coordinated and relentless. Explosions rippled across the flagship's hull, its shields flickering. "They're focusing all fire on us," Ward said, her voice tight. "Shields are at critical." "We just need to hold a little longer," Grant replied. He activated the comms again, this time to the infiltration team hidden aboard the flagship. "Team Alpha, status?" A crackling response came through. "Charges set, Commander. Ready on your signal." Grant's gaze hardened. "Do it." Inside the flagship, explosions erupted, tearing through its internal systems. The ship shuddered, its weapons falling silent as fire and smoke consumed its corridors. On the Vanguard's bridge, cheers erupted, but Grant's expression remained focused. "Fall back," he ordered. "Give them no target to hit." The Vanguard and its fleet pulled back, their formations tightening as the flagship crumbled. Its core erupted in a blinding explosion, sending shockwaves through the Empire's fleet. Enemy ships scattered, their lines breaking under the chaos. "They're retreating," Ward reported, her voice filled with awe. "We've done it." Grant exhaled, the tension finally releasing from his shoulders. "No," he said quietly. "We've begun it." The battle was won, but Grant knew the war wasn't over. The Empire was wounded, but it wasn't dead. Yet for the first time, humanity had shown the galaxy its strength, its resolve, and its defiance. He turned to the crew, his voice carrying over the quiet hum of the bridge. "Today we proved that we don't back down. We don't run. The Empire wanted war, and we gave them one. And now, they'll remember what it means to face humanity." The stars beyond the viewport seemed brighter, their light a beacon of hope in the darkness. For the first time, the future felt like something worth fighting for.
The Galactic Patrol ship Vigilant Spear sliced through the inky void of space, its scanners sweeping the neutral trade lanes for anomalies. Lieutenant Carrick, a junior officer eager to prove himself, studied the latest data with narrowed eyes. Amid the usual clutter of merchant beacons and debris, one reading stood out: a small, unregistered craft drifting near a mining station's debris field. Unidentified vessel detected, Carrick announced, his voice sharp. No transponder code, minimal power output. Captain Therax strode onto the bridge, his crimson uniform immaculate, exuding the air of authority that came naturally to a rising star in the Galactic Empire. Bring it in, he ordered, glancing at the display. Likely another smuggler. Let's remind them why neutrality isn't a shield from Imperial law. Minutes later, the Vigilant Spear's tractor beam locked onto the derelict ship, dragging it into the hangar bay. Armed guards surrounded the vessel as its hatch hissed open. From the shadows emerged a man, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark, piercing eyes and a face etched with quiet defiance. He carried no visible weapon, but his very presence radiated danger. Step forward, human, barked a guard, leveling his blaster. The man obeyed without a word, his movements deliberate, unhurried. Captain Therax observed him from the observation deck, noting the stranger's unsettling calm. What's your name? Therax's voice crackled over the intercom. Does it matter? The man replied, his tone measured. It will when I record your execution, Therax retorted. Take him to the brig. The guards encircled the man, shackling his wrists and escorting him through the sterile corridors of the Imperial ship. He offered no resistance, his eyes scanning the surroundings with methodical precision. Every door, every guard rotation, every surveillance node was silently cataloged. The brig was a cold, featureless cell, illuminated by a harsh overhead light. As the door sealed behind him, the man sat on the lone bench, his expression unreadable. In the command center, Therax turned to Carrick. Run a full scan. I want to know who we're dealing with. Carrick hesitated, then spoke. Sir, the ship's logs were wiped clean, and his biometrics don't match any records in the database. Therax frowned. A ghost, then? No one operates in these sectors without a reason. Double the guard detail. Back in his cell, Nathan Steele, former Navy SEAL and one of Earth's most lethal operatives, leaned back against the cold wall, his mind racing. The mission had been straightforward. Infiltrate an Imperial facility, sabotage its reactor, and extract before detection. But an unforeseen skirmish had left his team scattered, their transport compromised. Now he was alone, deep within enemy territory. His training kept him calm. Panic was the enemy, and observation was his weapon. He studied the energy field enclosing his cell and noted its faint hum, a sign of minor instability. The guard stationed outside seemed lax, chatting about rotations and upcoming leave. Hours passed, and Nathan remained motionless, conserving energy. A pair of guards approached his cell, their armored boots clanking against the polished floor. Captain wants another look at him, one said, deactivating the field. Nathan stood, his size imposing even in stillness. The guards flanked him as they escorted him to an interrogation chamber. Inside, Captain Therax awaited, flanked by two officers. Sit, Therax ordered, gesturing to a chair bolted to the floor. Nathan complied, his gaze steady. Who are you? Therax demanded. Just a man trying to survive, Nathan replied evenly. You expect me to believe that? Therax sneered. You're no merchant, no drifter. That much is clear. What were you doing near Imperial space? Nathan remained silent, his expression betraying nothing. Therax's patience frayed. You misunderstand your situation. This isn't a negotiation. Speak, or I'll ensure your stay here is unforgettable. Nathan leaned forward slightly, his voice low. You think you hold the leash, Captain, but you have no idea what's inside the cage. The room fell silent, the weight of his words unsettling even the hardened officers. Therax scowled, waving a hand. Take him back. We'll see how long his bravado lasts. As Nathan was led away, Therax watched him go, unease gnawing at the edges of his confidence. There was something about this human, something dangerous, something more than the Empire had accounted for. Back in his cell, Nathan allowed himself a faint smile. The Empire had made its first mistake. They underestimated him. The transport shuttle descended through the atmosphere of Zion Prime, the Galactic Empire's central detention facility. The sprawling prison complex, built into a jagged mountainside, loomed like a fortress of despair, its walls bristling with defensive turrets and patrolled by squads of droids. Nathan Steele sat shackled among other prisoners, his expression impassive as the shuttle jolted on approach. Zion Prime muttered a grizzled alien to his left, his scales dull with age. "No one leaves this place whole." Nathan didn't respond, his mind already calculated. Each guard's movement, the layout of the shuttle's interior, even the flickering lights of the restraint mechanisms. Everything was potential leverage. The shuttle landed with a metallic groan, and the prisoners were herded out like livestock. Nathan's size and human features drew sneers from some of the more aggressive inmates, while the guards prodded him along with an air of disdain. "Move it, human," one barked, shoving him forward with a baton. Nathan complied without a word, his face a mask of indifference. Inside, the prison was a labyrinth of steel corridors, glowing energy barriers, and the faint, constant hum of machinery. He was led to a cell block housing a volatile mix of alien criminals, smugglers, mercenaries, and insurgents. The kind of place where survival depended on dominance or alliances. The guard shoved him into a small cell with a narrow cot and a single dim light. The door sealed behind him, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Nathan's calm exterior masked the storm within. He had studied the guards' behavior, noting their overconfidence. He had memorized the location of security cameras and listened for subtle differences in the energy barrier's hum, a potential indicator of structural weaknesses. That evening, he was released into the communal area, a cavernous space filled with prisoners of various species. The air was thick with hostility, the tension palpable. Nathan moved with deliberate slowness, his every step calculated to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. But some conflicts couldn't be avoided. A towering Braccarin, its leathery skin scarred from countless battles, blocked Nathan's path. Behind him, a group of similarly brutish aliens watched, their laughter guttural and mocking. "You're in my seat," the Braccarin growled, pointing to a bench Nathan hadn't even approached. Nathan stopped, his gaze flicking to the aliens' companions. He didn't need to be a mind reader to understand their intent. Intimidation, followed by violence. "I wasn't aware seats were assigned," Nathan replied evenly. The Braccarin's lip curled in a snarl. "You'll learn fast, human, or you won't survive long enough to care." The alien lunged, its massive hand swinging toward Nathan's throat. In a blur of movement, Nathan sidestepped, his hand shooting up to twist the alien's wrist with precise force. A sickening crack echoed through the room, followed by the Braccarin's howl of pain. Before the alien could recover, Nathan drove an elbow into its ribs, dropping it to its knees. He stepped back, his expression unreadable, as the room fell silent. The Braccarin's companions froze, their bravado evaporating. They exchanged uneasy glances before retreating, dragging their injured leader away. Nathan turned and walked to a corner of the room, seating himself with an air of calm detachment. The other prisoners stared, a mixture of fear and respect glinting in their eyes. From a high balcony, a pair of guards watched the scene unfold. "Did you see that?" one muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Yeah," the other replied, his tone wary. "We got a live one." The incident didn't go unnoticed by the prison's warden, an older Zeltharin named Varric. Reviewing the security footage, he stroked his tendrils thoughtfully. "Humans are typically fragile," Varric murmured, his voice rasping. "But this one, he's different," informed Captain Therax. Back in his cell, Nathan sat on the edge of his cot, replaying the encounter in his mind. The altercation had revealed key dynamics among the prisoners, who held power, who avoided conflict, and who might prove useful. It also served another purpose, establishing his place in the pecking order. Still, he knew he had drawn attention. That was unavoidable. The Empire wouldn't ignore the fact that a lone human had bested one of its most brutal inmates with ease. As the lights dimmed for the simulated night cycle, Nathan allowed himself a moment of reflection. Every move he made served a larger purpose, each step another piece of the puzzle. The Empire thought it had captured an ordinary human, but they had no idea of the storm they had brought into their midst. Far from feeling trapped, Nathan felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. Xiron Prime was not his prison. It was his battlefield. The hum of the energy barrier outside his cell served as a constant reminder. The Empire's overconfidence would be their undoing. And Nathan Steele? He was just getting started. The dimly lit corridors of Xiron Prime buzzed with tension. Word of the humans' swift and brutal takedown of the Braccaran had spread like wildfire. Inmates whispered about the new arrival, some in fear, others with curiosity. The guards watched Nathan Steele with suspicion, their movements sharper, their grips on their weapons tighter. Nathan felt the shift, but gave no indication he noticed. Every look, every hushed word, every change in routine was another data point, another piece of the puzzle. He moved through the prison like a shadow, unassuming yet ever watchful, his every action deliberate. The Empire, however, wasn't content to let him linger untested. Captain Therax had taken a particular interest in the human and ordered his transfer to the maximum security wing, a brutal sector where discipline was maintained through violence and fear. Nathan was escorted into the new wing under heavy guard, the metallic clang of his boots against the floor echoing through the oppressive silence. The air was heavier here, thick with the unspoken rules of survival. Every prisoner's eyes followed him, their expressions ranging from predatory to calculating. In the corner of the communal yard, a hulking Zorkathian inmate named Gorith observed Nathan with cold interest. Known for his savage domination of the sector, Gorith had broken more rivals than anyone could count. The sight of the calm, unassuming human piqued his curiosity and his disdain. "Fresh meat," Gorith growled, his voice carrying across the yard. "I've heard stories about you, human. Let's see if you're as dangerous as they say." Nathan didn't respond, his focus fixed on the yard's layout. He noted the guard positions, the automated turret placements, the blind spots in the surveillance system. Gorith stood, his massive frame casting a shadow over Nathan. "Ignoring me? That's a mistake." The Zorkathian lunged, his fists swinging with the force of a wrecking ball. Nathan moved like water, sidestepping the blow and driving an open palm into Gorith's exposed ribcage. The strike was surgical, designed to incapacitate rather than kill. Gorith staggered, his breath hitching, but Nathan gave him no time to recover. In a blur, Nathan swept Gorith's legs from under him and pinned him to the ground, his forearm pressing against the Zorkathian's thick neck. "You've made your point," Gorith rasped, choking on his words. Nathan released him and stood, his expression calm, almost detached. "I'm not here for you," he said, his voice low but carrying weight. The yard was silent. Nathan's display had been precise and unrelenting, a message to anyone watching. He wasn't prey. He was a storm that left ruin in its wake. From a control room overlooking the yard, Captain Therax observed the scene with a mix of frustration and unease. "He's not just dangerous," Therax muttered to Warden Varric, who stood beside him. "He's disciplined, calculated. That makes him a threat." Varric nodded, his tendrils twitching thoughtfully. "He's more than he appears, Captain. If he's an operative, he could jeopardize more than just this facility. Shall I authorize enhanced interrogation?" Therax shook his head. "No. Let's see how he handles real pressure. Release the Rylok squad into his sector during the next cycle. If he survives, we'll know exactly what we're dealing with." Nathan returned to his cell that night, his body relaxed but his mind sharp. He could feel the weight of the Empire's attention pressing down on him, but it didn't concern him. This was the dance he was trained for, a game of survival and dominance where one wrong step meant death. The next day, the storm came. During the scheduled work shift in the facility's industrial sector, alarms blared and the gates slammed shut. The Rylok squad, elite cybernetically enhanced enforcers, marched into the area. Their mission was clear: eliminate the human. Nathan moved instinctively, using the machinery and shadows for cover. The Ryloks were relentless, their augmented senses scanning for movement. A burst of plasma fire lit up the sector as Nathan darted between conveyor belts and storage crates, his mind racing. He found what he was looking for, an exposed maintenance hatch leading to the sector's coolant system. Timing his movements with precision, he lured the Rylox into a trap. As the first enforcer approached, Nathan emerged from the shadows, his hands gripping a metal rod scavenged from the machinery. The strike was brutal, disabling the Rylox sensor array and toppling it with a single blow. The others charged, their weapons firing, but Nathan was already moving. He exploited their rigidity, their reliance on technology, striking where their augmentations left them vulnerable. One by one, they fell, their mechanical whirs fading into silence. By the time the alarm ceased, Nathan stood alone, breathing heavily but victorious. Around him, the wreckage of the Rylox squad was strewn like discarded toys. From the control room, Therax slammed his fist onto the console. "Enough games," he growled. "Prepare the extraction teams. I want him broken." Nathan, wiping sweat from his brow, glanced up at the security cameras. He knew they were watching, but that was the point. Let them see. Let them fear. Xiron Prime wasn't a prison. It was his proving ground. And Nathan Steele wasn't here to survive. He was here to win. The walls of Xiron Prime trembled with distant explosions as Nathan Steele initiated his final plan. The facility's alarm system blared, its shrill cries blending with the shouts of panicked guards and prisoners alike. Smoke filled the corridors, the acrid tang of burning circuitry and molten metal choking the air. Nathan moved like a predator, his every step purposeful, his every action precise. The ambush on the Rylox squad had given him what he needed: weapons, equipment, and, most importantly, leverage. Their augmented systems contained data on the prison's infrastructure, including access codes and blueprints. With that knowledge, Nathan had turned the Empire's tools against them. In the command center, Captain Therax barked orders, his composure cracking under the weight of the chaos unfolding around him. "Seal the maximum security wing. Deploy every available unit." Warden Varric glanced at the monitors, his tendrils twitching in agitation. "He's targeting the power core. If he reaches it, I know what happens." Therax snapped. "Stop him." Nathan's path to the core was a gauntlet of resistance. Guards armed with blasters formed blockades, but their tactics were no match for his training. He moved through them like a ghost, his borrowed plasma rifle cutting down opposition with ruthless efficiency. In one hallway, a squad of droids advanced, their mechanical voices droning commands to surrender. Nathan rolled a stolen thermal charge into their midst, the explosion reducing them to sparking debris. Reaching the power core, Nathan encountered his final obstacle, a heavily fortified door flanked by automated turrets. He crouched behind cover, his mind racing. The codes he had extracted from the Rylock data would deactivate the turrets, but only if he reached the control panel on the opposite wall. He exhaled, steadying himself. Timing was everything. With a burst of speed, Nathan sprinted across the open space, dodging a hail of energy bolts. The heat singed his skin, but he didn't falter. Sliding into position, he keyed in the sequence. The turrets powered down with a low whine, their menacing barrels drooping inertly. The door hissed open, revealing the facility's main reactor. The chamber was a cavernous expanse of machinery, its pulsating core glowing with a faint blue light. Nathan stepped inside, his boots echoing against the grated floor. Behind him, Captain Therax entered, flanked by a squad of elite guards. His face was a mask of fury. "You've made it this far, human," Therax sneered, leveling a blaster at Nathan. "Impressive. But this ends now." Nathan turned slowly, his weapon lowered but his stance poised. "You've already lost," he said, his voice calm. "The only question is how much more you'll sacrifice before you accept it." Therax snarled. "You're outnumbered and outgunned. Drop your weapon and surrender, or I'll..." The room shuddered violently as another explosion rippled through the facility. Nathan's expression didn't change. "That was your external shielding," he said. "In about 5 minutes, this entire complex will collapse. If I were you, I'd focus less on me and more on finding a way out. Therax hesitated, the realization dawning on him. His anger boiled over, and he fired. Nathan moved instinctively, dodging the blast and returning fire. The reactor chamber erupted into chaos as blaster bolts ricocheted off the walls. Nathan's training and resourcefulness gave him the edge. The guards fell one by one, their precision no match for his relentless tactics. Therax, wounded but alive, staggered back toward the control console. He typed furiously, attempting to override the reactor's meltdown. "You think you can stop this?" Nathan asked, advancing slowly. Therax spun to face him, his blaster shaking in his hand. "I'll kill you, human. You're nothing but a primitive savage." Nathan's expression hardened. "I'm the consequence of your arrogance." In one fluid motion, he disarmed Therax and drove him to the ground. The captain struggled, but Nathan's strength and precision were overwhelming. "You won't survive this," Therax gasped. Nathan leaned in close, his voice a cold whisper. Survival was never the goal. He left Therax incapacitated and turned his attention to the reactor. With swift movements, he placed the remaining thermal charges at critical junctions. As he set the final timer, he activated a beacon on his wrist, a distress signal to his extraction team, who had been waiting for the right moment to breach the facility's perimeter. The reactor's hum grew louder, the countdown ticking toward critical mass. Nathan sprinted through the corridors, avoiding collapsing ceilings and bursts of flame. The prisoners, emboldened by the chaos, had overrun much of the remaining resistance, their cries of freedom echoing through the halls. Reaching the surface, Nathan emerged into the cold night air. A sleek, cloaked shuttle descended, its hatch opening to reveal a familiar face. Commander Hayes, his old handler. "Cutting it close, Steel," Hayes said, smirking. Nathan climbed aboard, breathing heavily. Just like old times, as the shuttle lifted off, the facility erupted in a blinding explosion, the shockwave rattling the craft. Nathan watched in silence as Xiron Prime crumbled into the mountainside, a smoldering ruin of Imperial hubris. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel the weight of the mission's success. The Empire had learned a costly lesson. Underestimating humanity, especially a Navy SEAL, was a mistake they wouldn't forget. But there was no time for celebration. This was just one battle in a much larger war. Nathan Steele wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting to remind the galaxy that humanity would not be broken.
Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of Earth Defense, Station Aegis Prime. The huge metal station floated in space between Earth and Mars. Jake had been watching the stars for 3 hours now, waiting for something to happen. He knew it would come soon. The communication panel started beeping. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez turned around in her seat. Her face looked worried. "Commander, we're getting a message from deep space. It's coming from the Galactic Council." Jake stood up and walked over to Amy's station. The Galactic Council was made up of 7 different alien races. They had been watching humans for the last 50 years. Most of the time, they left humans alone. But lately, things had been changing. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The big screen at the front of the bridge turned on. A tall, blue-skinned alien appeared. Jake recognized him right away. It was Admiral Vorthik from the Zephyrian Empire. The Zephyrians were the strongest military force in the galaxy. At least, that's what they thought. Vorthik's voice was deep and scary. "Attention, primitive humans. I am Admiral Vorthik of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. The Galactic Council has made a decision about your species." Jake felt his hands make fists. He had been expecting this day for a long time. Amy looked back at him with wide eyes. The other crew members on the bridge stopped what they were doing to listen. "Your species has spread to 12 star systems without permission," Vorthik continued. "You have built colonies and mining stations in space that belongs to the Galactic Council. This cannot continue." The alien's face came closer to the camera. His yellow eyes looked angry. You have exactly 72 hours to remove all humans from these systems. If you do not obey, we will remove you ourselves. Your primitive weapons and slow ships cannot stop us." Jake wanted to laugh, but he kept his face serious. If only this alien knew the truth about human weapons and ships. But that was the whole point. The aliens were supposed to think humans were weak and stupid. "We have 847 warships ready to attack your colonies," Vorthik said. "Each one of our ships is bigger and stronger than your largest vessel. Our plasma cannons can destroy your metal hulls in seconds. Our quantum shields can stop any weapon you have." The message ended. The screen went black. The bridge was quiet. For a moment, Amy turned to Jake. "Commander, what do we do?" Jake smiled a little. "We follow the plan. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the aliens have taken the bait." While Amy sent the message, Jake thought about the last 50 years. When humans first met the aliens, they had made a smart choice. Instead of showing their real technology, they had pretended to be much weaker than they really were. Every time, aliens watched human military exercises. They saw old and slow weapons. Every time aliens looked at human ships, they saw simple designs that looked weak, but it was all fake. The real human military was hidden away, waiting for the right moment. On Earth, Admiral Kevin Blake was sitting in a meeting with President Linda Carter. The president was a strong woman who had been planning for this day since she took office. Defense Secretary Ryan Hughes was also there, along with several other important people. "The message from Vorthik just came in," Blake said. "They're demanding we leave 12 star systems. They think we're too scared to fight back." President Carter nodded. "How long do we have?" 72 hours, Blake answered. "But we don't need that long. Our ships are already in position." The president looked out the window at the city below. Millions of people were living their normal lives, not knowing that the biggest moment in human history was about to happen. "Are you sure our plan will work?" she asked. Blake smiled. "Madam President, the aliens have been watching us for 50 years. In all that time, they've never seen our real military. They think our best weapons are simple missiles and laser guns. They have no idea what we can really do." Back in space, Captain Lisa Grant was on her patrol ship, the Defiant. She was near the edge of human space, close to one of the colonies the aliens wanted humans to leave. Lisa had been a military pilot for 15 years, but she had never been in a real battle. Her radar officer, Lieutenant Mike Stevens, called out, "Captain, I'm seeing 3 alien ships approaching. They're Zephyrian scouts." Lisa looked at the screen. The alien ships were beautiful, with smooth curves and bright blue lights. They moved through space like graceful dancers. But Lisa knew they were also very dangerous. "They're scanning our mining platform," Mike said. "Wait, they're powering up weapons." Lisa watched as the alien ships fired blue beams at the mining platform. The beams hit the platform's shields and made them flicker. But the aliens weren't trying to destroy it. They were just showing off their power. "Captain, they're sending U.S. a message," the communication officer said. "Put it through," Lisa ordered. A Zephyrian voice came through the speakers. "Human vessel, you have witnessed our power. Your shields are weak. Your weapons are primitive. Leave this system now, or we will disable your ship too." Lisa wanted to fire back, but she had her orders. She had to act scared and weak. We understand. We're leaving now." The alien ships watched as the Defiant slowly moved away. Lisa hated acting like a coward, but she knew it was important. The aliens needed to think humans were easy to defeat. As her ship flew back toward Earth, Lisa smiled. In less than 3 days, these same aliens would learn the truth about human military power, and it would be a lesson they would never forget. Colonel Sam Porter walked through the long metal hallway deep under the Colorado mountains. The walls were thick and strong, built to keep secrets safe. He had been walking for 10 minutes, going deeper and deeper into the mountain. Finally, he reached a heavy door marked with warning signs. Sam put his hand on the scanner. The machine beeped and the door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, Dr. Helen Murphy was waiting for him. She was a small woman with gray hair and smart eyes. She had been working on secret projects for the government for 20 years. "Hello, Sam," Helen said. "Are you ready to see what we've been hiding from the aliens?" Sam nodded. "The Zephyrians gave us their ultimatum this morning. 72 hours to leave 12 star systems. It's time to show them what humans can really do." Helen smiled and led him to a large window. Below them was a huge room filled with computers and screens. Hundreds of people were working at their stations, all of them part of a project called Masquerade. "For 50 years, we've been lying to the aliens," Helen said. "Every time they watched our military exercises, we made sure they saw weak weapons and slow ships. Every time they studied our technology, we showed them things that were 30 years out of date." Sam looked at the screens showing alien ships moving through space, and they believed it all. "Why wouldn't they?" Helen asked. "When they first met us, humans had just learned how to travel between stars. To them, we looked like children playing with toys. They never thought we could learn and grow so fast." Helen walked to another window. This one showed a different room where engineers were working on strange machines. "The aliens think our best weapons are simple missiles and laser guns. They have no idea that we've been building plasma cannons and particle beams for decades." Sam stared at the machines. They looked nothing like the weapons the aliens had seen in human military parades. These were smooth and deadly, with power sources that could light up whole cities. "What about our ships?" Sam asked. Helen laughed. "That's the best part. The aliens think our fastest ships can barely reach half the speed of light. They don't know about our antimatter engines. They've never seen our real warships." She pressed a button on her tablet. The screen changed to show a view of space near Titan, one of Saturn's moons. At first, Sam couldn't see anything. Then, slowly, shapes began to appear. They looked like ghosts becoming solid. "Stealth technology," Helen explained. "We've been hiding our real fleet inside asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres. The aliens have been looking right at them for years without knowing they were there." Sam counted the ships as they appeared on the screen. There were dozens of them, then hundreds, then thousands. Each one was bigger than anything the aliens had ever seen from humans. "How many ships do we have?" Sam asked. "More than the aliens can imagine," Helen said. "We've been building them in secret factories throughout the solar system. Some are hidden in the asteroid belt. Others are built inside hollowed-out moons. The aliens think we have maybe 100 warships. We actually have over 3,000. On Titan, Captain Tony Richards was watching his own screens. He commanded the secret human base hidden under the moon's ice. For 10 years, he had been waiting for this moment. Now, finally, it was time to wake up the sleeping fleet. "All ships, this is Titan Base." Tony spoke into his microphone. "Operation Masquerade is ending. Repeat, Operation Masquerade is ending. All stealth ships, prepare for combat status." Around the solar system, thousands of human ships began to stir. They had been floating in space like sleeping giants, invisible to alien sensors. Now they were waking up, and soon they would show the galaxy what humans could really do. Back in the mountain, Helen was showing Sam more secrets. "The aliens think we're stupid because we use primitive kinetic weapons. They prefer energy weapons like plasma cannons and laser beams. But they don't understand that our kinetic weapons are actually railguns that can punch through any armor. Sam looked at the designs on Helen's screen. The weapons looked simple, but the math behind them was incredible. How fast do these projectiles move? Fast enough to crack a planet, Helen said. The aliens' quantum shields can stop energy weapons, but they can't stop a piece of metal moving at 90% the speed of light. Helen pulled up another file. And speaking of shields, the aliens think our defensive systems are weak. They've seen us use simple energy barriers that flicker and fail. They don't know about our real shields. The screen showed a new type of protection system. Instead of just stopping attacks, it could bend them around a ship or even send them back at the attacker. We learned this technology from the ruins on Mars, Helen explained. The aliens know we found some old buildings there, but they think we just took a few metal tools and art objects. They have no idea we found working computers and weapon designs. Sam remembered the Mars discovery. 20 years ago, human archaeologists had found the remains of an ancient civilization buried under the red planet's surface. The aliens had been told it was just old pottery and wall paintings. The truth was much more exciting. The beings who lived on Mars were more advanced than any current galactic civilization, Helen continued. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of what the aliens have now. And we've been studying it, learning from it, and improving it. Meanwhile, in space, the Zephyrian fleet was moving toward human colonies. Admiral Vorthik was confident that the humans would surrender without a fight. His ships were the pride of the Zephyrian military, each one capable of destroying a human city. But Vorthik had made a mistake. He had believed everything the humans wanted him to believe. He thought human weapons were weak and human ships were slow. He had no idea that every piece of information he had about human military power was carefully crafted lies. On his flagship, Vorthik was talking to his officers. The humans have not responded to our ultimatum, he said. They are probably too frightened to even send a message. When we arrive at their colonies, they will surrender immediately. His tactical officer, a young Zephyrian named Kresh, looked at the star charts. Admiral, should we prepare for battle? Vorthik laughed. Battle? Against humans? We could defeat their entire fleet with one ship. No, Kresh, this will not be a battle. This will be a demonstration of why primitives should not play with technology. They don't understand. Back on Earth, President Carter was meeting with her top advisors. General Kate Williams, the head of strategic planning, was explaining the final details of the plan. The aliens will reach our colonies in 18 hours. Kate said, "Our ships are already in position. The moment they attack, we drop the masquerade and show them what we can really do." President Carter looked around the room at her advisors. These people had been planning this moment for decades. Are we sure this is the right choice? Once we reveal our true power, there's no going back. Admiral Blake nodded. Madam President, the aliens have been treating us like children for 50 years. They've demanded we stay in certain areas of space. They've told us what technology we can and cannot use. They've made it clear that they see us as inferior beings. But after tomorrow, General Williams added, they'll know the truth. Humans are not the weakest species in the galaxy. We might just be the strongest. President Carter made her decision. Do it. Send the signal to all our hidden fleets. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. The human colony of New Haven was a peaceful place. It had farms, schools, and small cities where 50,000 people lived normal lives. The planet had blue skies and green fields, just like Earth. Children played in the parks while their parents worked in offices and factories. But today was different. Today, the Zephyrian fleet was coming. Captain Dan Sullivan stood on the bridge of his ship, the Retribution. To anyone watching, it looked like a normal human cruiser. It was about half the size of a Zephyrian warship, with simple gray armor and basic weapons. The aliens had seen ships like this many times before, and they always thought they were weak. But the Retribution was not what it seemed. "Captain, the alien fleet is dropping out of hyperspace," reported Lieutenant Commander Rachel Green from the command center on New Haven's surface. "I count 47 ships, all Zephyrian design." Dan looked at his tactical display. The alien ships were beautiful, with smooth blue hulls and elegant curves. They moved through space like dancers, confident and graceful. Admiral Vorthic's flagship was the largest, nearly twice the size of any human ship the aliens had ever seen. "They're taking positions around the planet," Rachel continued. "They're not attacking yet. I think they're waiting for us to surrender." Dane smiled. "Well, let's not keep them waiting. Open a channel to the Zephyrian flagship." The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Vorthic appeared, his blue skin gleaming and his yellow eyes full of arrogance. Behind him, Dan could see the alien bridge with its crystal controls and flowing designs. "Human vessel," Vorthic said, his voice deep and commanding. "I am Admiral Vorthic of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You are in violation of Galactic Council law. Surrender immediately, and we will allow your people to evacuate peacefully." Dan stepped forward. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been waiting for this moment for 15 years. "Admiral Vorthic, I am Captain Dan Sullivan of the human ship Retribution. Before we talk about surrender, I have a question." "For you?" Vorthic looked surprised. Humans usually begged for mercy when faced with Zephyrian power. "What question? Did you do your homework?" The alien admiral's face showed confusion. "Homework? What is this word?" Dan's smile grew wider. "It means studying and learning before you act. You've been watching humans for 50 years, Vorthic, but you never really learned anything about us, did you?" Vorthic's expression changed to anger. "I have learned that humans are primitive. Your weapons are weak. Your ships are slow. You cannot stand against the might of the Zephyrian Empire. That's what we wanted you to think," Dan said quietly. Before Vorthic could respond, Dan gave a signal to his crew. "Drop the masquerade." Lee, Retribution began to change. The simple gray armor plating slid away, revealing gleaming metal underneath. The ship's hull expanded as hidden sections unfolded. Weapon ports opened along the sides, showing cannons that the aliens had never seen before. The ship grew from a small cruiser to a massive dreadnought in just 30 seconds. On the alien flagship, Vorthic's officers were shouting in their own language. Their sensors were going crazy, showing energy readings that should have been impossible. "What? What is this?" Vorthic whispered. "This is a human warship," Dan replied. "The real thing. Not the toys we've been showing you for 50 years. The Retribution's weapons powered up. Energy flowed through systems that used technology far beyond anything the Zephyrians had. The ship's shields activated, creating a barrier that made the Suziv air around it shimmer like water. "Impossible," Vorthic said. "Our intelligence reports say humans have primitive technology. Your weapons cannot penetrate our quantum shields." "Your intelligence reports are wrong," Dan said. "We wrote them." The first shot came from the Retribution's main cannon. It was not the simple laser beam the aliens expected. Instead, it was a concentrated stream of particles moving at incredible speed. The beam struck Vorthic's flagship directly in the center. The Zephyrian quantum shields, which had never failed before, lasted exactly 2 seconds. The beam punched through them like they were made of paper. It tore through the ship's hull, causing explosions all along its length. "Return fire," Vorthic screamed. "All ships, attack the human vessel." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons sent streams of superheated gas toward the Retribution. energy beams tried to slice through its armor. Quantum torpedoes exploded around it in brilliant flashes of light, but nothing worked. The human ship's shields absorbed every attack. Weapons that could destroy cities barely made the shields flicker. How is this possible? Vorthik demanded his. Tactical officer Kresh was staring at his instruments in disbelief. Admiral, their shields are not like ours. They're not just stopping our weapons. They're absorbing the energy and using it to make themselves stronger. Dan watched as the alien attacks made his ship's power levels rise. "Thank you for the free energy," he said calmly. "Now let me show you what we can do with it." The Retribution fired again. This time, it was not just one beam, but dozens. Each one found a different alien ship. The Zephyrian vessels, which had seemed so powerful just moments before, began to explode one by one. On New Haven's surface, Rachel was coordinating the battle from her command bunker. Captain Sullivan were detecting more alien ships jumping into the system. "It looks like Vorthik called for backup." "How many?" Dan asked. 200 more ships, all different species. I see Keltheron Republic cruisers, Vorthan destroyers, and Nexus battleships. They're all coming to help the Zephyrians. Dan nodded. "Good. The more the better. It's time to show the entire galaxy what humans can really do." High above the planet, space began to change. The area around New Haven, which had seemed empty just moments before, suddenly filled with ships. They appeared out of nowhere, as if they had been invisible. Steve Parker was flying one of the human fighters that had just dropped its stealth field. To the aliens, human fighters had always looked like simple metal boxes with weak engines. But Steve's fighter was nothing like that. It moved through space like a living thing, turning and spinning in ways that should have been impossible. "This is Pilot Steve Parker to all human fighters," he said into his radio. "The masquerade is over. Show them what our ships can really do." The human fighters began to dance through space, moving in patterns that made the alien pilots dizzy. Just watching them, they could turn completely around while still flying forward. They could stop in the middle of space and then accelerate to incredible speeds in an instant. "How are they doing that?" Kresh asked, watching the human fighters on his screen. "Gravity manipulation," Dan answered from the Retribution. "We learned it from the ruins on Mars. We can control gravity the same way you control your plasma cannons." The battle was turning into a disaster for the aliens. Their weapons could not penetrate human shields. Their ships could not match human speed and maneuverability. And more human vessels kept appearing, each one more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. Admiral Vorthik's flagship was dying. Explosions rocked the ship as its systems failed one by one. The bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. "Admiral," Kresh said, "we have to retreat. We cannot win this battle." But Vorthik was not listening. He was staring at the tactical display, watching his fleet being destroyed by humans he had thought were primitives. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. "This is happening," Dan said, from the Retribution. "And it's happening because you made the same mistake that every bully makes. You thought being bigger and louder made you stronger. But you were wrong." The Retribution fired one final shot. This one was different from the others. Instead of destroying Vorthik's ship, it disabled all of its systems. The great Zephyrian flagship went dark, floating helplessly in space. "Admiral Vorthik," Dan said, "you have one chance to save what's left of your fleet. Surrender now, and we'll let you go home. But if you ever threaten humans again, we'll finish what we started today." Vorthik looked around his ruined bridge. Half of his fleet was gone. The other half was retreating as fast as they could. In less than an hour, the mighty Zephyrian Empire had been humbled by a species they had thought was weak. We surrender," Vorthik said quietly. Dan nodded. Smart choice. Now go home and tell your people what you learned here today. Tell them that humans are not primitives. Tell them that we've been hiding our true strength for 50 years. And tell them that the next time someone threatens us, we won't be so merciful. As the surviving alien ships limped away from New Haven, Dan looked out at the stars. The masquerade was over. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours, every alien civilization knew what had happened at New Haven. The Zephyrian Empire, the strongest military force in known space, had been defeated by humans in less than 1 hour at first. Many aliens did not believe the reports. Humans were supposed to be primitive. Their weapons were weak and their ships were slow. How could they possibly defeat the mighty Zephyrian fleet? But the proof was undeniable. Admiral Vorthik himself had sent the message to the Galactic Council. His voice was shaking as he spoke. The humans have been hiding their true strength. They are not primitives. They are apex predators. We have made a terrible mistake. On the planet Kelthar, Admiral Vyzes of the Keltharan Republic was meeting with her war council. The Keltharians were tall, thin beings with silver skin and large, black eyes. They had been allies of the Zephyrians for 300 years. This has to be some kind of trick, Admiral Vyzes said. The humans could not have defeated Vorthik's fleet. Our intelligence about their military capabilities is very detailed. Her chief intelligence officer, a nervous Keltharian named Vex, was looking at his reports. Admiral, we have been monitoring human military exercises for decades. We have recorded their weapons tests and ship specifications. According to our data, they should not have been able to win this battle. Then explain what happened, Vyzes demanded. Vex's large eyes grew even wider. Admiral, what if the humans have been lying to us? What if everything we think we know about their military is false? Before Vyzes could answer, her communications officer announced an incoming message. Admiral, we have a transmission from the human fleet. They are requesting permission to enter our star system. Vyzes stood up quickly. How many ships? One, Admiral? A single human vessel. Vyzes relaxed slightly. One human ship was not a threat, even if the reports about their new weapons were true. Let them approach, but keep our defense fleet ready. 20 minutes later, a human ship appeared at the edge of the Keltharian system. It looked like a normal human cruiser, similar to the ones the Keltharians had seen many times before. But after what happened at New Haven, Vyzes was not taking any chances. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the human ship Liberator," came a voice from the approaching vessel. "I am requesting permission to demonstrate something to your government." Vyzes opened the communication channel. "This is Admiral Vyzes of the Keltharian Republic. State your intentions, human." "I'm here to show you the same thing we showed the Zephyrians," Maria replied. The truth about human military power. Vyzes felt a chill run down her spine. "You have one ship, Captain Santos. We have over 200 vessels protecting this system. Are you threatening us?" Maria's voice was calm and friendly. "I'm not threatening anyone, Admiral. I'm just offering a demonstration. Your defense grid is very impressive. I'm sure it would take hours for a normal fleet to break through it. It would take days," Vyzes said proudly. "Our quantum barriers and plasma networks are the strongest in the galaxy." "That's what I thought," Maria said. "Shall we begin?" Before Vyzes could ask what she meant, the human ship began to change. Just like the Retribution at New Haven, the simple exterior fell away to reveal something much larger and more complex underneath. The ship grew from a small cruiser to a massive battleship in seconds. "That's impossible," Vex whispered. "Our sensors showed it as a light cruiser." "Your sensors showed what we wanted them to show." Maria's voice came through the speakers. "We've been using holographic camouflage for 30 years. Every human ship you've ever seen has been wearing a disguise. The Liberator began to move toward Kelthur's defensive perimeter. The automated defense systems immediately activated, sending streams of plasma and energy beams toward the approaching ship. These were the same weapons that had destroyed entire fleets in the past. But just like at New Haven, the human ships' shields absorbed every attack. The energy that should have destroyed it only made it stronger. Begin Phase 2. Maria announced. The Liberator's weapons powered up. Instead of the simple lasers the Keltharians expected, exotic energy beams lanced out from the ship. They struck the defense satellites and space stations that protected the system. In 12 minutes, the entire Keltharian defense grid was gone. 200 years of construction, representing the most advanced military technology in the Republic, had been swept away by a single human ship. Admiral Vyzes stared at her tactical display in shock. Every defensive position was either destroyed or disabled. The space around her home planet, which had been protected by an impenetrable barrier just minutes before, was now completely open. "How?" she whispered. "The same way we did everything else," Maria replied. "We studied your defenses for decades. We learned how your quantum barriers work. We figured out how to get past your plasma networks. And then we built weapons specifically designed to defeat them." On Earth, President Linda Carter was addressing the planet. She stood behind a podium in the White House, with Admiral Blake and General Williams beside her. The speech was being broadcast to every human colony and every alien government. "My fellow humans," she began, "today marks the end of an era. For 50 years, we have allowed other species to believe that we were weak and primitive. We did this not because we were afraid, but because we were smart." She looked directly into the camera. "We knew that if the galaxy understood our true capabilities, they would have united against us. So we chose to hide our strength while we studied their weaknesses." The president activated a holographic display that showed the human fleet emerging. From hiding places throughout the galaxy, ships appeared from asteroid fields, gas giant atmospheres, and empty space where nothing had been visible before. "The human fleet consists of over 3,000 warships," she continued. "Each one is more advanced than anything any other species has ever built. Our weapons can penetrate any defense. Our shields can absorb any attack. Our ships can travel faster and maneuver better than any vessel in the galaxy." She paused to let the information sink in. "But we are not conquerors. We do not want to rule over other species. We simply want to be treated as equals, not as inferior beings who need to be managed and controlled." Dr. Helen Murphy was also giving a presentation, but hers was for the Galactic Council's Science Committee. She stood in a large chamber filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. Many of them looked terrified. "The technology we have revealed today comes from 3 sources," Helen explained. "First, our own research and development, which has been focused on military applications for over a century. Second, reverse engineering of alien technology that we have observed and studied. And third, archaeological discoveries from the ruins on Mars. A Nexus representative, a being that looked like a walking tree, raised one of its branch-like arms. Dr. Murphy, our records show that the Mars ruins contained only primitive artifacts, stone tools and wall paintings." Helen smiled. "That's what we told you. In reality, we found a complete technological database from a civilization that was far more advanced than any current galactic species. We've been studying their knowledge for 20 years. The chamber erupted in concerned voices. Representatives from different species began arguing with each other, trying to figure out how they had been so completely fooled. The beings who once lived on Mars had mastered gravity manipulation, antimatter production, and quantum mechanics in ways that we are still learning to understand," Helen continued. "They left behind blueprints for weapons and defenses that make current galactic technology look primitive. Meanwhile, Colonel Sam Porter was releasing classified information to intelligence agencies throughout the galaxy. The files showed the true extent of human military preparation. Every human cargo ship is actually a disguised weapons platform, he explained to a gathering of alien intelligence officers. Every human mining operation is actually a weapons factory. Every human research station is actually a military listening post. He activated a holographic map of human space. We have been monitoring your communications, studying your military tactics, and preparing countermeasures for every possible attack. We know the location of every alien military base, the specifications of every alien warship, and the weaknesses of every alien defense system. The aliens in the room looked at each other with growing fear. They had thought they were the ones doing the spying. They had never imagined that humans were watching them just as carefully. The human philosophy is simple, Porter continued. We prepare for war so that we can have peace. We build weapons so that we never have to use them. And we study our potential enemies so that we can defeat them if they force us to fight. Back on Kelthar, Admiral Vyzes was trying to understand what had happened to her defense grid. Her chief engineer, a young Keltharian named Zara, was examining the wreckage of the wreckage. Destroyed satellites. Admiral, Zara reported, the human weapons were unlike anything we've ever seen. They didn't just destroy our equipment. They seemed to understand exactly how our technology worked and targeted the most vulnerable points. Vyzes looked at the tactical display showing the human ship still floating near her planet. Can we rebuild our defenses? Not against weapons like these, Zara said sadly. The humans have found ways to defeat every defensive system we know how to build. If they wanted tea. The Galactic Council Chamber was chaos. Representatives from dozens of alien species were shouting at each other in languages that filled the air with clicks, whistles, and roars. The Great Hall that had once been a symbol of order and cooperation now looked like a battlefield. Admiral Kevin Blake walked into the chamber with a small group of human delegates. Behind him came Commodore Lisa Grant, who had been promoted after her brave actions during the crisis. Colonel Sam Porter followed, carrying data files that contained information the aliens never thought they would see. The moment the humans entered, the chamber fell silent. Every alien eye turned to look at them. Some showed fear, others anger, and a few showed something that might have been respect. Blake walked to the center of the chamber where a speaking platform waited. The platform was designed for much taller beings than humans, but Blake climbed the steps without hesitation. When he reached the top, his voice carried clearly through the chamber speakers. Representatives of the Galactic Council, he began. I am Admiral Kevin Blake of the Human Defense Force. I come here today not as a conqueror, but as someone who wants to discuss the future. A tall, insect-like being from the Nexus Collective clicked its mandibles together angrily. Human, your species has deceived us for 50 years. You have made fools of us all. Blake nodded calmly. Yes, we did. And we had good reasons for doing so. He activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it had been 50 years ago. When we first met your civilizations, we were indeed primitive compared to you. Our technology was basic. Our ships were slow, and our weapons were simple. We knew that if we showed you how quickly we could learn and grow, you would see us as a threat. The display changed to show human space over the last 5 decades. So we made a choice. We would let you think we were weak while we studied your technologies, learned from your mistakes, and built defenses against your weapons. A representative from the Vorthan Empire, a being covered in gray scales, hissed through his translator. You spied on us. You stole our secrets. We observed you, Blake corrected. Everything we learned came from watching your public demonstrations. studying your commercial technology, and analyzing the ships you sent to our space. We never hacked your computers or infiltrated your governments. We simply paid attention. Blake pressed another control, and the display showed the true size of the human fleet. Thousands of ships appeared on the hologram, each one larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had expected. The result of our 50-year project is simple, Blake continued. Humanity is now the strongest military force in the galaxy. Our ships are faster than yours. Our weapons are more powerful than yours. Our defenses are better than yours. The chamber erupted in angry voices again. Representatives demanded to know how this was possible. Some accused the humans of using illegal technology. Others called for immediate action against the human threat. Blake waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. But here's what you need to understand. We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be treated as equals. President Linda Carter's image appeared on screens throughout the chamber. She was speaking from Earth, addressing the entire Galactic Council. For 50 years, the president said, your civilizations have treated humanity like children. You've told us where we can and cannot go in space. You've decided what technology we're allowed to use. You've made it clear that you see us as inferior, beings who need to be managed. She paused, looking directly into the camera. That ends today. From now on, humanity will be treated as an equal partner in galactic affairs, or we will go our own way. The choice is yours. In the Zephyrian home system, the remains of Admiral Vorthic's fleet were limping back to port. The proud Zephyrian empire, which had ruled over dozens of star systems for centuries, was in chaos. Their military had been humbled by a species they had thought was primitive. Emperor Zethrock, the ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, was meeting with his council in the Imperial Palace. The Emperor was an old Zephyrian with scars from 100 battles. He had never known defeat until today. How many ships did we lose? The Emperor asked. Half the fleet, Your Majesty, replied General Kess. The humans destroyed 24. Warships and disabled dozens more. Admiral Vorthic's flagship barely escaped. The Emperor's yellow eyes flashed with anger. And what of our allies? Surely the other species will help us fight these humans? General Kess looked uncomfortable. Your Majesty, the Keltharian Republic has already announced that they will not support any military action against humanity. The Nexus Collective is demanding that we negotiate with the humans. Even our closest allies are abandoning us. Emperor. Zethric stood up and walked to a window that looked out over his capital city. For 300 years, the Zephyrians had been the strongest military force in the galaxy. Now, in a single day, that had changed forever. What do our intelligence services say about human capabilities? The Emperor asked. They say we were completely wrong about everything, Kess admitted. The humans have been hiding technology that is decades ahead of ours. Their weapons can penetrate any armor we know how to build. Their ships can outrun anything in our fleet. The Emperor turned back to his council. Then we have no choice. Send a message to the human leadership. Tell them the Zephyrian Empire is willing to discuss new arrangements. Back on Earth, Admiral Blake was meeting with President Carter and her advisors. The response from the galaxy had been mixed, but the message was clear. Humanity was now a major power that could not be ignored. The Zephyrians want to negotiate, Blake reported. So do the Keltharians and most of the smaller species. The Nexus Collective is demanding that we share our advanced technology with everyone. President Carter smiled. And what did you tell them? I told them that we're willing to discuss trade agreements and mutual defense treaties, Blake said. But our military technology stays with us. We've learned too much about galactic politics to give away our advantages. General Kate Williams, who had been monitoring alien communications, added her own report. Madam President, we're seeing significant changes in how other species view us. The fear is there, but so is respect. Several governments are already reaching out through diplomatic channels. What about the species that refuse to accept the new situation? The president asked. Blake's expression grew serious. There are a few. The hegemony of Arcturus is talking about forming a coalition to contain the human threat. Some of the smaller empires think they can band together and challenge us. Then we'll have to convince them otherwise, the president said. But we'll do it the same way we have done everything else. We'll be smart about it. 6 months later, the galaxy had settled into a new normal. The Galactic Council had been restructured to give humanity an equal voice in galactic affairs. Trade agreements were signed between human colonies and alien worlds. The threat of war had been replaced by the promise of cooperation. But the most important change was in how aliens looked at humans. No longer were they seen as primitive beings who had stumbled into space travel by accident. They were recognized as a species that could think strategically, plan for the long term, and execute complex deceptions that lasted for decades. Captain Dan Sullivan, now promoted to Admiral, was commanding the human fleet's patrol operations. His job was to make sure that the new peace was maintained and that no one forgot the lessons of the past year. He was standing on the bridge of his new flagship, the Retribution 2, when his communications officer announced an incoming message. From a Nexus exploration ship, Admiral, the alien captain said, "We have discovered some unusual readings in the Centauri Nebula. Our scientists believe there may be artifacts from an unknown civilization. We would like to request human assistance in investigating." Sullivan smiled. A year ago, no alien species would have asked humans for help with anything important. Now, they recognized that human analytical skills and advanced technology made them valuable partners. "We'll send a science vessel to assist you," Sullivan replied. "Thank you for including us in the discovery." As the communication ended, Sullivan looked out at the stars. The galaxy was a different place now. Humans were no longer pretending to be weak. Aliens were no longer treating them like children. And for the first time in 50 years, there was real peace between the species. The moment when humans unveiled their true military power had changed everything. But more importantly, it had shown the galaxy that the most dangerous species was not necessarily the one with the biggest guns or the fastest ships. Sometimes, the most dangerous species was the one that was smart enough to hide its true strength until the perfect moment to reveal it. Sullivan thought about all the years of careful planning, patient waiting, and strategic deception that had led to this moment. Humanity had played the longest game in galactic history, and they had won. Now came the even bigger challenge, using their power wisely and building a future where all species could thrive together. But if there was one thing humans had proven, it was that they were very good at thinking ahead and planning for the long term. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. And that, Sullivan thought, was exactly how it should be.
Esteemed members of the Grand Galactic Council, Casvarel announced, his forearms trembling slightly as he adjusted his ceremonial robes. "I regret to inform you that our first contact with the species known as humans has been less than optimal." The council chamber erupted in murmurs, the crystalline walls reflecting the concerned whispers of the galaxy's most powerful beings. High Counselor Ra Tech raised one of their sensory appendages, immediately silencing the chamber. Less than optimal Ra Tech's voice boomed through the chamber, each word dripping with barely concealed annoyance. "You were supposed to establish diplomatic relations with a primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. How difficult could that possibly be?" Casvarel cleared his throat, a habit he had unfortunately picked up during his brief stay on Earth. "Well, Your Excellence, it seems our initial assessment of their technological capabilities was somewhat flawed." The memory of his first meeting with the humans played vividly in his mind. He had arrived in a grand diplomatic vessel, expecting to find a civilization that would bow in awe at their superior technology. Instead, he found himself face to face with Admiral Sarah Bennett of the United Earth Defense Force, who took one look at his ship and asked if he needed a software update for his outdated propulsion system. You see, Kaz Varl continued, his secondary hearts beating erratically, when we arrived at their space station to present our terms of surrender and incorporation into the Galactic Alliance. They laughed. What the question came from Council Member Pax Nara, her bioluminescent patterns flashing in confusion. They laughed, Your Excellence. Then their ambassador, a rather intimidating woman named Alexandra Morgan, patted me on the back and said, and I quote, "That's adorable. Would you like some coffee while we discuss why that's not going to happen?" Ra Tech's color shifted to a deep purple of rage. Surely you reminded them of our superior numbers? Our fleet of 10,000 warships. I did, Your Excellence. Kaz Varl pulled at his collar nervously. Their response was to bring up their historical archives and show me something called World War II, where they fought on multiple fronts across their entire planet. Ambassador Morgan suggested that if we wanted a war, they would be happy to oblige, but recommended we first study something called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The chamber fell silent. Council member Zarkax, known for his military expertise, leaned forward. And what happened when you presented our advanced weaponry? Kaz Varal's third heart nearly stopped. They offered to help us upgrade it. Apparently they found our plasma cannon designs, and I quote, charmingly retro. Impossible. Ra Tech slammed their appendage against the council table. They are primitives. Their civilization still argues about political ideologies on their global information network. Yes, Your Excellence. But they also have something called memes, which they claim have won more battles than any weapon in their history. I'm still trying to understand the strategic importance of something called a Rickroll. The council chamber descended into chaos. Representatives from 100 worlds all speaking at once, some demanding immediate military action, others suggesting diplomatic retreat. Through it all, Kaz Varl stood there, remembering the knowing smirk on Ambassador Morgan's face as she had handed him a cup of coffee. There's one more thing, Kaz Varl added, his voice barely audible above the commotion. The room gradually quieted, all eyes turning back to him. When I mentioned our intention to demonstrate our power by destroying one of their smaller moons, they offered to sell us tickets to watch. Apparently they have a betting pool on whether our weapons would even scratch the surface of what they call their Level 1 planetary defense systems. Ra Tech's color drained to a pale blue of despair. Level 1. Yes, Your Excellence. Ambassador Morgan mentioned it was cute that we thought they would reveal their actual defensive capabilities to a potential hostile force. She then invited us to, and I quote, find out and around narrator if we were feeling particularly adventurous. The Grand Council chamber's holoscreen flickered to life, displaying the face of Ambassador Alexandra Morgan. Her silver-streaked black hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her smile carried the same unsettling confidence that had haunted Kaz Varal's dreams for the past 3 cycles. Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council, she said, her voice carrying a warmth that somehow made her words even more threatening. I understand you've been discussing our recent diplomatic exchange. I thought it might be helpful if I clarified a few points personally. Ra Tech straightened their posture, attempting to project authority. Ambassador Morgan, your species' defiance of galactic law cannot be tolerated. We demand immediate compliance, or we will be forced to. To what Morgan interrupted, raising an eyebrow. To send another fleet, like the one currently hiding behind your moon, the one with the adorable cloaking technology that our kindergartners cracked last week. The council members exchanged alarmed glances. That fleet was supposed to be undetectable. Oh yes, we know all about that, Morgan continued, taking a sip from her coffee mug. Commander Thomas over at Luna Base 3 has been using their energy signatures as a teaching tool for our junior defense analysts. He says thank you, by the way. It's been very educational. Zarkax rose from his seat, his warrior crests flaring. You dare mock the combined might of the Galactic Council? Our smallest battleship could reduce your cities to ash. Morgan's laugh echoed through the chamber. Could it, though? She pressed a button, and the holoscreen split to show a second feed. Because right now, one of your battleships is trying to intimidate our Pluto defense station, which is in space, wrapped in what appeared to be glowing strings of light. What have you done to my ship, Zarkax demanded. What have you done to my ship, Zarkax demanded. Oh, that Morgan smiled. That's just some surplus containment tech from our research division. The staff at Pluto Station thought it would be more polite than our actual defensive measures. They're quite proud of themselves for handling it without waking up the station's primary AI. Surplus tech, Raw Tech's voice quavered. Down her coffee cup. You see, we humans have a rather unique approach to technological development. While you were busy building bigger ships and flashier weapons, we were asking ourselves, what if we just ignored the laws of physics entirely? The chamber fell silent. That's not possible, one of the junior council members whispered. Really? Morgan raised an eyebrow. Tell that to Dr. Amanda Blackwood over at the Quantum Debate. Again. Last time someone told her something was impossible, she accidentally invented a way to knit space-time. It is quite lovely. Raw Tech slumped in their chair. What do you want? Want? Morgan looked genuinely surprised. Oh, we don't want anything from you. We were perfectly happy exploring our solar system, making scientific breakthroughs, and posting cat videos on our global information network. You're the ones who showed up demanding our surrender. She leaned forward, her expression becoming serious. But since you're asking, how about we start over? This time without the threats and demands. We humans have a saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Though personally, I never understood why anyone would want to catch flies in the first place. And if we refuse, Zarkax challenged, though his warrior crests had deflated considerably. Morgan shrugged. Then nothing happens. We go back to our research, our cat videos, and occasionally using your ships for target practice when they stray too close. But you should know, our head of defense has been asking permission to test our new gravity manipulation systems. Something about wanting to turn a gas giant into a disco ball. I've been telling her no, but she's very persistent. Kaz Varal, who had been trying to make himself as small as possible, suddenly found his voice. Ambassador, if I may, what did you mean earlier about level 1 defenses? Oh, that Morgan grinned. That's just what we tell our 5-year-olds so they don't worry about space monsters. Our actual defense systems, she winked. Well, let's just say we hope we never have to find out what they can do. Now, who's ready to discuss actual diplomatic relations? I brought enough coffee for everyone. This is madness, Kazvarl protested, watching as the council prepared their test fleet. We've already seen what they can do. Why are we provoking them further? Raw Tech's sensory appendages twitched with determination. Because, dear Kazvarl, no species can be as advanced as they claim. Their bravado must be a bluff, a carefully orchestrated deception. We will expose their true capabilities with a precise, calculated strike. 3 days later, Kazvarl stood on the observation deck of the Council's flagship, wondering if he should have updated his will before this mission. Below them, Earth's moon glowed serenely against the backdrop of space. Alert the humans that we are conducting routine military exercises, Raw Tech commanded. Nothing threatening, just standard fleet maneuvers. The response came almost immediately. A holographic projection materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a man with salt and pepper hair and a weathered face lined with laugh wrinkles. His uniform bore the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force. This is Admiral James Blackwood, he announced, grinning like someone who had just heard a particularly good joke. I understand you folks want to play war games? Mind if we join in? Raw Tech's color shifted to a confident green. Admiral Blackwood, we are merely conducting standard fleet maneuvers. Yes, I got the memo, Blackwood interrupted, checking something off screen. Tell you what, since you came all this way, how about we make this interesting? My crew's been dying to test our new training protocols. Zarkax, who had insisted on personally commanding this mission, stepped forward. Training protocols? You dare to treat this as a training exercise? Well, what else would it be? Blackwood's eyes twinkled. Unless you're actually planning to attack, in which case I should warn you, my first officer just made coffee, and she gets really cranky if she doesn't finish her cup. Before Zarkax could respond, alarms blared across the flagship. Sir, one of the sensor operators called out. We're detecting multiple small objects approaching from the lunar surface. Blackwood nodded. That would be Cadet Squad 7. They're practicing their zero-G maneuvers today. Don't mind them. The council members watched in horror as what appeared to be human teenagers in powered armor suits zipped between their ships, occasionally stopping to take what looked suspiciously like selfies with the alien vessels as backgrounds. "This is an outrage," Zarkax roared. "You send children to mock us." "Mock you?" Blackwood looked offended. "Not at all. They're studying your ship designs. It's part of their ancient technology appreciation course." Raw Tech's color drained to a pale yellow of disbelief. "Ancient." Now, Blackwood said soothingly. "There's nothing wrong with classic designs. Very robust. Built to last. Speaking of which," he glanced at another screen. "You might want to power down your primary weapons systems. They're showing some concerning power fluctuations." Zarkax slammed his fist on the console. "Enough. Launch the..." Every light on the flagship suddenly turned pink. The mighty engines, capable of pushing the massive vessel through hyperspace, began playing what sounded suspiciously like Earth dance music. "Oh dear," Blackwood sighed. "I should mention that Cadet Lucy Martinez gets a bit creative when she's bored. She probably shouldn't have hacked your systems, but you know how teenagers are with their pranks." Impossible, the Council's top security expert, Telvac, rushed to a console. "Our cybersecurity is impenetrable. Our quantum encryption is adorable," a young female voice interrupted as another hologram appeared, showing a grinning cadet who couldn't have been more than 16. "But you really should update your firmware. There's a patch for that vulnerability from like 100 years ago." Blackwood cleared his throat. "Cadet Martinez, what have we said about hijacking alien vessels without permission?" "Sorry, sir," she replied, not looking sorry at all. "But their system architecture was practically begging to be improved. I even left them a digital maintenance manual, in 17 languages." By now, half the Council fleet was blasting various Earth music genres, their weapons systems completely offline. The other half appeared to be engaged in what could only be described as an impromptu dance party, their navigation systems locked into synchronized movements. "Don't worry about the light show," Blackwood assured them. "The cadets are just practicing their ship-to-ship coordination. Although he checked a readout, your power cores seem to be running a bit hot. Might want to do something about that." Casvarral watched in fascination as one of their most advanced destroyers spun gracefully through space, trailing sparkles. "Are those space fireworks?" "Oh good, you can see those," Blackwood beamed. "Cadet Martinez was worried the quantum particle effects might not be visible to your species. She'll be so pleased." Raw Tech, their color now cycling through various shades of distress, finally found their voice. "Admiral Blackwood, what exactly are you trying to prove here?" The Admiral's expression softened. "Prove? Nothing at all. We're just having a friendly exchange of military traditions. By the way, you might want to check your cargo holds. Our maintenance bots got a bit enthusiastic and took the liberty of upgrading some of your more outdated systems. Free of charge. Of course. We believe in good neighborly relations." "You upgraded our ship's," Zarkax looked like he might faint. "Just the critical systems," Blackwood assured him. "Life support, navigation, safety protocols. Oh, and we took the liberty of installing content filters on your entertainment systems. You wouldn't believe the stuff that gets through on the standard galactic frequencies. Not at all suitable for the younger crew members." Finally, Raw Tech spoke, their voice barely a whisper. "Admiral Blackwood, what would have happened if this had been a real attack?" "Real attack?" Blackwood's smile remained friendly, but his eyes turned serious. "Let's just say these cadets are part of our remedial training program, needed extra practice with the basic stuff." He paused. "You really don't want to meet our regular forces." The Grand Council's emergency session had been going for 6 hours when Ambassador Priya Patel walked in carrying what appeared to be an enormous pizza box. "I heard you skipped lunch," she announced to the startled assembly. "And in my experience, no good diplomatic solution ever came from hangry negotiators." Casvarral watched in fascination as the composed diplomat, dressed in an elegant blue sari embroidered with what looked like mathematical equations, began distributing slices of the Earth delicacy to bewildered council members. Ambassador Patel Ra-Tech began formally, "This is hardly the time for ensuring basic nutritional needs are met during crucial negotiations." Priya raised an eyebrow. "I respectfully disagree. Besides, I added extra cheese. Everyone loves cheese." But the Protocols Council member Telvac protested weakly, even as they sniffed curiously at the slice before them. "Oh, the protocols," Priya laughed, pulling up a holoscreen. "Let's talk about those. Did you know your standard first contact protocols were written by a species that communicates through interpretive dance? That explains so much about the mandatory 7-hour greeting ceremony." Several council members choked on their pizza. "You mean we've been Casvaral's secondary hearts skipped a beat? Dancing your hellos for the past 3 centuries," Priya nodded. "It's actually quite lovely, though your hip movements could use some work. No offense." Ra-Tech, who had unconsciously taken a bite of pizza, froze mid-chew. "This is outrageous. Our entire diplomatic framework needs updating." Priya finished smoothly, "which is exactly why I'm here. That, and to prevent certain trigger-happy individuals from starting a war because they misread an emoji in our last transmission." Zarkax bristled. That smiling face was clearly a threat. It was a winky face, Priya corrected. And it meant Ambassador Morgan was joking about turning Jupiter into a disco ball. Though technically we could do that. Our party planning committee has some wild ideas. She pulled out a tablet and began scrolling. "Now, about these trade agreements. We noticed you're still using binary code for your base level computations. Have you considered quantum neural networks? Much more efficient. We'd be happy to share the technology, though fair warning, it does have a tendency to develop a sense of humor." Shared technology. Telvac leaned forward, pizza forgotten. "But our laws strictly prohibit the exchange of advanced technology between council members." Yes, Priya nodded. "But we're not council members, are we? We're just a primitive species who happen to figure out how to fold space-time while trying to make our internet connection faster. By the way, who wrote that law? The same species that thought interpreting dance was the height of diplomatic communication." A junior council member raised their appendage. Actually, it was the Zorkaf Collective. The ones who went extinct because they refused to update their medical database format, Priya asked innocently. "Fascinating." The chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence, broken only by the sound of several council members quietly enjoying their pizza. "Look," Priya said, her tone gentler. "We understand this is a lot to process. Humans tend to do things differently. Last week, one of our scientists discovered a new fundamental force of nature while trying to keep her coffee warm. We're still not sure how that happened. But now we have self-heating mugs that occasionally break the laws of thermodynamics." She gestured to the holoscreen, which now displayed a series of graphs and charts. "These are our current technological growth trajectories. Yes, they look exponential. No, we're not entirely sure why. Our best guess is that it has something to do with our tendency to ask what if." Followed by "Hold my beer." "Hold your beer," Ra-Tech's translator struggled with the phrase. "An earth beverage," Priya explained. "The phrase typically precedes either a brilliant scientific breakthrough or an emergency room visit. Sometimes both. We're working on that ratio." Casvaral, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up. "Ambassador Patel, what exactly are you proposing?" Priya's face lit up. "A cultural exchange program. We send some of our scientists to help upgrade your systems. You send some of your people to learn our methods. We get to satisfy our curiosity about alien cultures. You get to understand why letting humans get bored is a terrible idea." "And if we refuse?" Zarkax asked, though Casvaral noticed he was reaching for a second slice of pizza. "Then nothing changes," Priya shrugged. "Except maybe the frequency of mysterious technological breakthroughs in your territory. Our scientists can get quite enthusiastic about sharing knowledge, especially when told they're not supposed to. Just last month, someone uploaded the complete works of Shakespeare to your network, translated into all known galactic languages. The AI did the translations as a hobby." Ra-Tech's color shifted to a thoughtful blue. "You're saying we don't have a choice?" "Oh no," Priya corrected, pulling out a box of garlic bread. "You absolutely have a choice. We're just suggesting that working with us might be more fun than working against us. Also, there's dessert after this. I brought tiramisu. The council chambers had been converted into what humans called a show and tell session. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood at the center, surrounded by floating holograms of Earth's scientific achievements. His casual demeanor and worn lab coat with scorch marks somehow made the presentation even more unsettling. So you see, he explained, gesturing to a complex diagram, we actually achieved faster than light travel by accident. We were trying to make a more efficient coffee maker, but Jerry and quantum mechanics sneezed during the experiment. The resulting energy surge created a localized space-time bubble that well. Long story short, we now have coffee makers that can brew your morning cup yesterday. Ra-Tech stared at the diagram, their color cycling through shades of disbelief. You discovered temporal manipulation through a beverage dispensing accident. Oh, that's nothing, Marcus waved dismissively. Wait until you hear about how we solved gravity. My daughter's pet hamster had something to do with that one. Still not quite sure how, but the little guy's really good at quantum physics now. Kaz Viral, who had been furiously taking notes, dropped his data pad. Your pet animals understand quantum physics. Just the one hamster, Marcus clarified. Though my neighbor's cat might have achieved sentience last week, she's been solving complex mathematical equations, but we think she's just doing it to show off. The scientist pulled up another hologram, this one showing Earth's defense grid. Now, about our military capabilities. We tried to keep things simple, but you know how engineers get when they're caffeinated. One of them asked why our planetary shields couldn't also generate free Wi-Fi, and well, he gestured to a complicated network of energy patterns. Now we have the best internet coverage in the galaxy, and our defense grid occasionally posts memes on social media. Your defense system posts memes, Telvak looked ready to faint. Only the good ones, Marcus assured them. It has standards. Though last Tuesday it got into a pun battle with the Mars colony's AI. We had to shut down the network for an hour just to stop the dad jokes. He moved on to another display, this one showing what appeared to be a small wristwatch. This is probably our most significant breakthrough. We call it the Everything device. It started as a smartwatch project but somehow gained the ability to manipulate fundamental forces of nature. The engineering team says it was an accident, but personally, I think the quantum AI we developed got bored and decided to rewrite physics. You have an AI that can rewrite physics. Ra-Tech's voice was barely a whisper. Had Marcus corrected, it decided to retire and now runs a digital art gallery, says it's more fulfilling. Though it still helps out occasionally when it's not busy critiquing modern art. Czar Kax, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. Why are you revealing all this to us now? Marcus's expression turned serious for the first time. Because you need to understand something fundamental about humans. All these breakthroughs, all these accidents that turned into world-changing discoveries, they happen because we never stop asking questions. We never stop pushing boundaries. Not because we want power, but because we're curious. He pulled up one final hologram, showing Earth's first crewed rocket next to their latest space vessel. In less than 300 years, we went from barely reaching our own atmosphere to casually manipulating the fabric of reality. Not because we're special, but because every time someone told us something was impossible, we took it as a challenge. The scientist grinned. Do you know what happened when our physicists were told faster than light travel was impossible? They spent a week trying to prove it was impossible, found a loophole in reality instead, and now we have ships that can skip through dimensions because they forgot they weren't supposed to. He looked around the chamber, meeting each council member's gaze. We're not showing you this to threaten you. We're showing you this because we want you to understand why threatening us was never going to work. Humans don't respond well to being told what they can't do. We tend to do it anyway, usually by accident, often while trying to do something completely different. Like discovering temporal manipulation while making coffee, Kaz Viral asked weakly. Exactly, Marcus beamed. Though to be fair, that coffee maker